about 1 hour remaining for members of Parliament to debate the Basic Education Amendment Bill, Bill number 59 of the year 2023. We equally have a number of motions lined up for debate this morning by various members of Parliament. And before I take you through the motions, allow me to tell you on Standing Orders number 44, subsection 2C, we have Honorable Member Mashua Waithaka, the Honorable Member from Kiambu, who will be requesting for a statement on attempted grabbing of land belonging to the late Elijah Mwangi Kinyanjui. I want to believe this is in Kiambu County. And this request for statement will be handled by the Departmental Committee on Matters Lands at the National Assembly. Remember, you can follow up quickly on this live broadcast courtesy of our YouTube channels. That is Parliament of Kenya and the National Assembly live proceedings, and equally on KBC Channel 1. And you can also catch this live broadcast courtesy of our signet channels, that is Bunge TV. The business of the National Assembly will be commencing any minute from now as the Sergeant terms with the mace, closely followed by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Honorable Gladys Boss, in the chamber this morning. Allow me to hand you over. My name is Gladys Mungai. Enjoy your viewing and have yourself a great morning.
Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Sergeant at Arms, ring the bell for 10 minutes.
Well, the business of the National Assembly has officially commenced this morning. The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Gladys Boss, is already presiding over this live proceedings of the House this morning. We have the quorum bell on ring mode at the National Assembly to give some sort of leeway for members of Parliament within the presence of Parliament to make their way into the chamber this morning. As we await for signals from the Sergeant-at-Arms in the chambers, who will be doing the head counts to ascertain if the House has the numbers to proceed with business lined up in today's order paper, Understanding Orders number 225, the Honorable Member Ken Chonga, MP for Kilifi South, on behalf of concerned residents of Mwendo Wapanya village, this is in Kilifi County, will be presenting their statements on their behalf. The statement pertains the persistent harassment and unlawful eviction of people living on LR number 176/111/MN. This is the number of the land in Mwendo Wapanya village in Mpeteni ward in Kilifi South constituency. This Petition from residents of Mtepeni Ward in Kilifi South constituency will be handled by the House Committee on Matters Public Petition. Let me now take you through some of the motions lined up for debate this morning. The motion that is taking precedence in the order paper this morning is a motion on the implementation of the universal health coverage and of a policy on mandatory use of public health care facilities by public officers. This is a motion by Honorable Sabina Chege. They're aware that Article 43, subsection 1A of the Constitution do provide that every person has the right to the highest attainable standards of health, which includes the right to healthcare services, and aware that the government committed to accelerating the attainment of the universal health coverage, popularly known as UHC, to ensure that all Kenyans do have access and receive essential quality health services. Equally cognizant of the fact that in 2020, the Ministry of Health adopted the Kenya Universal Health Coverage Policy 2020 to 2030 with the theme of accelerating attainment of the universal health coverage, which is currently being implemented through the introduction of the Social Health Insurance Fund. The House therefore resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Health, implements the Kenya Universal Healthcare Coverage Policy, which runs from 2020 all the way to 2030, and introduce a policy on a mandatory use of public healthcare facilities by all civil servants, public officers, and state officers in the country. The supporting and promoting of local fertilizer manufacturing industries is yet another motion that members of the National Assembly are set to consider this morning. This motion lined up for debate is a motion by Honorable Samuel Atandi. Quorum has been attained.
Your card? Do you have your petition ready? It's okay. Please give him the mic. You may proceed with your petition. There you have the mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to read petition number 6 of 2025 regarding persistent harassment and unlawful eviction of people living on LR number 176/3/Mainland North in Mwendwapanya Village, Mtepeni Ward of Kilifi South constituency. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the concerned residents of Mwendwapanya Village in Mtepeni Ward, Kilifi South constituency, draw the attention of the House the following. That Mwendwapanya Village is a pre-colonial village established on or about 1908 by one Athman Suleiman and developed to an acclaimed state haven where many locals who escaped from slave merchants would get safety. 2, that the land on which this village is located measures approximately 23.75 acres and is registered as LR number 176/3/Mainland North. The parcel of land currently has a population of about 1,000 people. That the residents have been living in the village for over 100 years and have a community cemetery where they have been burying their dead ancestors, as evidenced by graveyards and shrines from where they perform their traditional rites. That the village has a wide range of public utilities such as hospitals, schools, shopping centers, and even farmlands on which residents practice subsistence farming, as well as commercial crop farming of coconuts, mangoes, cashew nuts, and oranges that have supported the livelihoods of the residents for over 70 years. That for many years since independence, efforts by the residents to regularize ownership of the land for them to have security of tenure and realize full economic potential of the land have been unsuccessful. That on the 19th of November 2018, 3 persons, namely Mark Mwarua Mwangi, Charles K. Wanguhu, and John Waweru Mwangi, went to the plot with hired people, harassed the residents, and demolished structures on the land, leaving the residents homeless. That in November 2021, residents of the village were shocked to learn that the parcel of land which they inherited from their ancestors and have lived on it for many years had been registered in the name of the 3 persons above, namely Mark Mwangi, Mwarua Mwangi, Charles K. Wanguhu, and John Waweru Mwangi, without their consent. That the residents who have no other known home other than Mwendoapanye village, hence have nowhere to be relocated to. That efforts by the petitioners to seek assistance from the relevant government agencies, including the Ministry of Lands, Public Works and Urban Development and the National Land Commission to address the matter have been unsuccessful. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the Public Petitions Committee, 1, inquires into the circumstances that led to the registration of a parcel of land number reference number LR number 176/3/Mainland North in the name of the 3 persons, namely Mark Mwaura Mwangi, Charles K. Wanguhu, and John Waweru Mwangi, without the consent of the residents. 2, recommend that the Ministry of Lands, Public Works and Urban Development, the National Land Commission and other relevant government agencies settle the residents by facilitating by subdivision of the parcel of land number LR 176/3/Mainland Road and issuance of certificates of title to the residents of Mwendoapanye village. 3, makes any other recommendations it deems fit to secure the petitioners' rights. And the petitioners will ever pray. Presented by me, Honorable Ken Chonga.
Honorable members, are there any members who want to contribute to the petition by Honorable Ken Chonga? Please press the intervention button. Press the... Those who want to contribute to this, press the intervention button. Okay, you may proceed. Okay.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia nafasi hii kuchangia katika petition hii. Bi Speaker, mambo ya wakazi kuhangaishwa na mambo ya mashamba imezidi sana, haswa sehemu za pwani. Utakuta kwamba watu wamekaa katika mashamba yao kwa muda mrefu sana, lakini kwa sababu ya uzembe wa baadhi ya maafisa wa serikali ambao wametwikwa jukumu la kusaidia wananchi kupata hatimiliki, wao ndo wamekuwa chanzo cha kusaidia mabwenyenye na watu ambao hawana uhusiano na mashamba yale na utamaduni wa pale, wanawapatia hatimiliki kinyume na matakwa ama matarajio ya wale wananchi. La kutamausha zaidi, Bi Speaker, ni kwamba sahihi hata polisi wamekuwa wanaingilia sana mambo ya mashamba kuliko kulinda usalama wa wananchi. Wanapewa court orders ambazo hawajathibitisha. Usiku wanaenda wakihangaisha wananchi, wakivunja nyumba zao, wakisema kwamba hiyo shamba ni ya mtu fulani bila kufuatia zile taasisi ambazo zinahusika kama vile National Land Commission ama wizara ya ardhi. Kwa hivyo ninaunga mkono petition hii iweze kuangaliwa vizuri ili hawa wananchi waweze kupata haki yao. Na si hapo peke yake, kumekuwa na visa vingi sana hasa sehemu za pwani, wananchi ambao wameketi kwa shamba ya mababu zao, wako na makaburi yao, kuna makanisa, kuna misikiti, kuna shule, unakuta kwamba mtu anakuja anasema kwamba hili shamba ni langu. Kwa hivyo tunaomba haya masuala ya kuwa na uskota katika sehemu za pwani ziweze kuchunguzwa ili wananchi wapate hatimiliki waweze kuishi kama Wakenya wengine. Asante Bi Speaker.
Mheshimiwa Kasim Tandaza, member of Matuga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, to give me this opportunity to add my voice into this sad situation. It is so sad that 60 years after independence, we have locals, we have indigenous people who up to now are said to be landless, to be squatters on areas, residing on areas where their ancestors, for as far as they can remember, we are not talking about 100 years, 200 years. For as far as history can rewrite itself, they've been living there. But somebody, by the mere fact that he was able to corrupt the government, the land officials, those who are in power, now have the right to evict locals, to evict people from their rightful homes, from their rightful lands. I don't know, Honorable Speaker, for how long this will continue. It is not just in Kilifi. It is in Kwale, it is in Lamu, it is especially along the coast. And especially so, given that our land, fortunately, God gave it to us, which is fertile. We have favorable weather. We have the beaches. And I don't know from what point somebody decided that the coastal people, the indigenous people, do not deserve those pieces of land. They do not deserve beach lands simply because they, for as long as we can remember, they have not been in government per se. And I'm saying this because this has always been perpetrated by the officials of the government, and it is so sad. Honorable Speaker, we've had these petitions before. I brought a petition for Golini Settlement Scheme. I brought a petition for Tiwi. We brought a petition for WA. And I'm also questioning the powers of this parliament when it comes to handling petitions, especially on land matters. I remember the last petition that I did. The committee went to the extent of asking the CS then, lands, to nullify that title deed so that a proper survey can be done and the locals are given their passes. Up to now, nothing has happened. You go to the CS, you will hardly be able to see. That time it was her, and even now it is her. The petitions are there. You go to our committee on implementation, nothing happens. So, Honorable Speaker, as I support this petition, I'm really worried about the next steps that will be taken actually to salvage this situation, to have these locals on their land. It is high time, though we are very peaceful people, especially the coast areas. We are known for being peaceful and we are known to be very welcoming. Probably it is high time we also handle these matters differently from our own perspective. Our being mindful of the law, our being law-abiding, I think, has been taken for granted, and it's high time, especially for us leaders from coast, we actually sit down and see how we can handle this matter from our own, with the resources that we have, with the strength that we have. Otherwise, we've been taken for a ride for a very long time. Honorable Speaker, I support this petition, but I'm really worried about how it is going to be solved given the previous petitions touching on land matters from the coast. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
The Honorable Member for Endebess, Honorable Pukose.
Honorable Speaker, I want to stand and support the petition by the Honorable Ken Chonga, member for Kilifi South, pertaining to the land issue in his constituency. And Honorable Speaker, listening to him, this is a matter that should be expeditiously be resolved. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the Petitions Committee has been very slow in processing petitions. I have a petition which I raised close to almost now, going to almost 2 years, and it has not been resolved pertaining to Jepchoina settlement scheme. And as we speak now, Honorable Speaker, when Honorable Ken Chonga raises this petition, I think maybe when we go back, I think it should be resolved quickly, and any other petition that is pending before. And I normally see it closer to the chair of the Petitions Committee, who is always here and is listening to this. And I hope that his committee will move with speed to address not just the petition by Honorable Ken Chonga, but by petitions such as the one concerning Jepchoina settlement scheme. Because as we speak, I was there for the weekend, and there is still a lot of quarrels between the Wananchi there, where you have others coming and plowing people's land when they have no allotment letters. And this creates insecurity, it creates instability, and it affects even production in as far as food security is concerned. So, Honorable Speaker, as we bring these petitions into the House, we expect that they should be expeditiously resolved. And I don't know whether the committee should be able to table the reports in this House and then maybe move even some motions or debates so that members can be able to contribute to those motions and see and resolve some of the problems. Because under our Constitution, Article 95, it gives this House the power to resolve citizens' issues, people we represent, and therefore it is important that when people bring petitions to us as Parliament, we should be able to resolve those issues and make recommendations that gives stability, gives a way forward to our citizens. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
The Honourable Member for Seme, Honourable Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to support this petition. Madam Speaker, land is a big issue in this country. Citizens do not live in peace and at ease. Even people with titles no longer trust the titles they have. In 1 minute, somebody says and the title is challenged. You do a search on land, you get a search certificate. That has no meaning. And I think it is time that as the committee looks at this, look at the broader issue of land. I think this is one area we must come out. It's not only at the coast, in towns and everywhere. And look at the proper entitlement to land, the proper certification in land, the proper registration, so that when citizens have a piece of paper from a government office, it has a meaning, and that it should be expedited. These processes, delayed processes, invite people with ill intentions to actually occupy other people's land and even claim it. With that, Madam Speaker, I support this petition, and I really ask the chair of the committee to look at broadly the issue of land. We are terrestrial animals. We don't live in air or water. We can only live on land. And if there is anything where we should have peace, it is land. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before we proceed, honorable members, allow me to recognize the presence of St. Bikita Chuka Girls School from Chuka Igembe Ng'ombe constituency in Tharaka Nithi, and Kiani Primary School from Kibwezi East constituency, Makueni County. On behalf of the substantive speaker, myself, and members of parliament, we welcome you to the National Assembly. Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kilifi North, Honorable Baya.
Honorable Speaker, I want to say thank you very much for giving this opportunity to support the Honorable Ken Chonga on this petition. Honorable Speaker, the Mwendo Panya land issue is a thorn in the flesh of the people there. The Honorable Ken Chonga in the 12th Parliament raised this issue. This issue was investigated and a report was tabled. But nothing happened. The people there continue to suffer. The residents of Kilifi South, and especially in that area, have suffered for a long time. Many times, people come and claim that land, they want to demolish, they want to evict them, and the Honorable Ken Chonga has used a lot of his money to try to settle. But he brought it to the right place, Parliament, where solutions to the people will be found. But this Parliament never gave Ken Chonga a solution. Actually, I would say it failed him as a member, and it failed the people of Kilifi South. They deserve better, the people of Kilifi South. And they have a representative who has, for a long time, tried to push this. Honorable Speaker, the laws of this country allow that a possession can be done if the owner has not been there for many years. Adverse possession can be done to ensure the people of Kilifi South, the people of Mwendo Panya, get their land. But Honorable Speaker, the lack of proper mechanism to ensure that what is decided in this chamber moves to the executive for proper execution has failed. And that is where we have Ken Chonga bringing this thing in the 13th Parliament. But Honorable Speaker, I want to add the petition committee, chaired by the very able chairman here, to ensure the expedite on this to stop the suffering of the people of Mwendo Panya. They are Kenyans, they deserve better, they deserve to be accorded the best treatment in terms of land ownership. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the chairman and the committee, please work hard on this one. Make sure at the end of the day it is executed and the implementation committee follows up the matter so that the people of Mwendo Panya get the justice. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mgwen, Honorable Lelmengit.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningependa kuchangia mswada huu ya petition kutoka kwa Mheshimiwa wa Pwani Ken Chonga. Hii maneno ya land grabbing, Mheshimiwa, haiko sehemu ya Pwani peke yake. Iko sehemu zote Kenya. Na mimi nikiwa mmoja wa committee ya lands, Mheshimiwa Speaker, mimi husikitika sana na kusikia uchungu sana wakati ambapo wazee wanapokuja kwenye kikao chetu na malalamishi ya mashamba, issues ambao watu wamenyang'anya hao mashamba, wakija wakilia, hayo masuala haijatatuliwa kwa miaka mingi sana, zaidi ya 30 years, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Hii ni uchungu sana. Nataka tu ingawa tuko na mikakati na sheria ambayo inahusu hiyo masuala ya umiliki wa mashamba, lakini imekuwa shida sana, Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa sababu licha ya waziri na katibu kuweka hizo mikakati, hiyo yote haitoshi. Ningesi tu wale wizara mengine, Honorable Speaker, ya security, wizara nyingine ambayo ya petition, wizara Mheshimiwa Speaker, waje pamoja na wa expedite hii process, Mheshimiwa Speaker, ili au watu ambao wanateseka, ambao wamenyang'anywa mashamba, Mheshimiwa Speaker, wafanyiwe haki yao na waishi kwa amani. Jambo lingine, Mheshimiwa Speaker, hii issue iko kule hata Mgwen, Nandi County, sehemu kama Tabolwa, kama Kapkangani, kama Koibem na Ngerek, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Petitions zimeletwa kwenye hii kikao, lakini imechukua muda, Mheshimiwa Speaker, kupata suluhisho. Ningependa kusi committee ya petition yetu na pia waziri waharakishe hizi kutatua hizi shida, ili watu wapate haki yao, wapate shamba zao na pia title deeds, Mheshimiwa Speaker, ambapo wanahitaji kutumia kwa biashara ama hata wakuwe na amani kuishi kwa hizo mashamba ambao wamepewa. Wako na haki kama Wakenya wengine. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
The Honorable Member for Alego Usonga, Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to support the petition by Honorable Chonga. Honorable Speaker, the issues touching on land are very unfortunate. You will find, Honorable Speaker, that there are cartels at Land's office that have the capability of changing title deeds and declaring genuine owners landless. In my constituency, I had cases where one morning, members of a community woke up and found that they didn't have land, and that some developer was coming to demolish, move them out of their ancestral land. So, Madam Speaker, I don't know what this country needs to do to kill the cartels that operate in various strategic sectors of the country. I know there are cartels everywhere, Madam Speaker, but this one's on land is very, very serious, and they're very, very bold. And I think this House needs to take action and do something that is going to make these cartels be fearful. Like this case of Kilifi problem. It's very unfortunate, Madam Speaker, because you hear that somebody came and rendered a community landless. So I think this House needs to be very fierce. And the Committee on Petitions, Honorable Speaker, in the past has been challenged to be more fierce and effective in handling these petitions. I also wanted to add my voice and say that this committee needs to move quickly and address especially the issues, petitions touching on land. Petitions touching on land before this committee are so many. And I think it is time that they really move and bring their reports to the House. And also, let members not interfere with the reports when they are brought before the House. I had an experience with this committee, Madam Speaker, when the report which was brought before the House was not the very report that was supposed to be here. And I want to thank the majority leader who was able to save me by assisting us to reject the report and amend it. So I think what we need to do as members of Parliament, let us be articulate and do things as per the request of our voters. Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Nyamira, Honorable Jerusha Momanyi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance so that I can also support the petition which has been heard by Honorable Chonga, the MP for Kilifi South. Honorable Speaker, issues of land elsewhere in Kenya are so emotive. When we get petitions in this parliament, like the petition which Mheshimiwa Chonga has brought, as a house, we have an obligation. When our people are crying that they have problems, we are the people that are believed to solve the people's problems. As a house, I want to urge us, as we talk to to the petition committee, and two, to the implementation committee. We always talk of very many and important issues in this parliament which affect our people, and sometimes these issues are never taken serious because we do not follow how they are implemented. Ken Chonga has brought this issue to this House severally, and it does not only affect the Kilifi people. Land is an issue which affects most people, especially those ones who are in problems, especially those ones who feel that they are being molested by the powers maybe, which they may feel which are higher. It is us as a house who can help solve such problems. So I want to support this petition, and I want to ask this House to follow and make sure that the petitions which I brought before us are followed and are acted upon, and they assist our people in the country, because they have been crying every other time. If we talk and they are never followed and they are never implemented, then we will be a useless house. So I want to support this, and I urge the implementation committee to move with speed and make sure this one is implemented. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Masiga, Honourable Mwalio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this moment you have given me to be able to support Honorable Chonga's petition. This grabbing of land has become a menace in this country, and people have no morals. They know you have a title, and they still go behind you to be able to corrupt the land officials so that they have other fake titles to be able to own them. I thought it is very important to have a culture of owning what is yours, and you leave others to own whatever belongs to them. Because what will it profit a man if you get the whole world and you lose your own soul? That is what the Bible asks. And also, what is the use of grabbing all the land you can grab, and yet you can't even use it, you can't develop it, you can't do anything. You are just disturbing other people's way of living. So I support that the petition committee should be able to resolve this issue, so the people that have been living in that land for those many years can continue with their own life the way they are used to live, with their children, their grandchildren, their grandfathers who were buried there. They can also be able to enjoy the environment they have been able to enjoy. So I support that this should be resolved, so that this country, people will learn that when you take someone's land, even yours, one day will be taken. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Makilap.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to join my colleagues in supporting Honorable Jonga's petition. It is not only, Madam Speaker, the Kilifi. Kilifi is a case study of how cartels have actually impoverished Kenyans, innocent Kenyans, by taking their land and rendering them landless and squatters in their own land. Madam Speaker, it's a question of, if this House passes this resolution from the Petitions Committee, it is in fact for it to become meaningful, it must be implemented. It must be implemented on the ground, so that the people will be able to get an opportunity to live a decent life and own land like other Kenyans. Madam Speaker, I have a case study. It's even worse in places where land demarcation has not been done. In areas where land adjudication, where land is still a community land, it is worse. And some of these cartels work together with county governments to actually steal land from innocent people. Madam Speaker, I have a case where some cartels from the community, working together with a Chinese investor, in quotes, took away land in Kaptura sublocation, so that when government now wanted to do land adjudication in that particular area, when officers were sent to do land adjudication, a whole Chinese went to court and say the whole sublocation is his land and he has a title. And everybody in that sublocation is landless. But Madam Speaker, this is a serious matter. I'm talking about a living story. The case is in court. And the whole sublocation, people realized that the Chinese investor that was supposed to be mining the atomite had worked with the county government and alienated the whole sublocation to become his title. And my people are living inside. Madam Speaker, it's a serious matter that we must protect this country from their own cartels and the sublocation were cartelled by their own educated sons. So cartels are everywhere, especially in areas that have not been adjudicated. Madam Speaker, that is a living example in Baringo North, Kapturo sublocation, where the people inside there are squatters in their own land by a Chinese from China. You can imagine Chinese alienating people in their own land. So, Madam Speaker, let's take this matter of land grabbing seriously so that we can restore order and dignity so that Kenyans will be able to live in places where they own as their land. Because how did that Chinese acquire that land? He came in the name of telling the people, if you want to get shares of the atomite so that when you get benefits, sign here. So the people signed, imagining that they were going to get something from, but they were signing to keep out their land forever. So, Madam Speaker, it is a dangerous thing. It must be implemented. Let us have the Kilifi case being implemented, and any petition brought before this House in the entire country as matters of land, let us take it seriously so that Kenyans can have a decent life. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, before we proceed, I'd like to welcome students from Santo Peter School, Kieni constituency from Nyeri County, who are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. And I'll ask Honorable Nyamai, as she makes the closing contribution to this debate, to also welcome the students on our behalf.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Before I comment on this petition by the Honorable Ken Chonga, I would also like to thank you for giving me a chance to welcome the students seated in the gallery and to tell them that to work very hard in school. And this is the place where we make laws, we handle policies, we make decisions on what is going to happen to the country. And you can only get here when you work extremely hard in school and make sure that you are disciplined. Honorable Speaker, I would like to support this petition by the Honorable Ken Chonga. It is extremely important. It concerns this community that seems to have lived there for an extremely long time, 100 years. And Honorable Speaker, I hope that the Honorable Mbae will take this up very quickly so that he's able to interact with the National Land Commission, the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, to make sure that these people get justice. He seems to have done his research very well and even identified the people who own the title. I think the committee can handle this matter very quickly. Honorable Speaker, as I talk about the people of Mwendo Apanya village, I would like to say that matters land are extremely serious. I have a whole 50% of my ward, Honorable Speaker, Adi ward, is a ranch. And we got to know this in the last parliament because the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning wanted to adjudicate. We realized that they are not able to adjudicate because the land belongs to a ranching company. And this is where over 15 schools are our social amenities for Adi ward. So beyond this petition, the chair lands, the Honorable Nyamoko, who is doing a very good job, I think he has a lot of work to do for this country. And I would like to say that the president has also pronounced himself, especially on matters cost, that people cannot go remove a whole community and allege that they own that land, including the so-called absentee landlords, Madam Speaker. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. I support this petition by the Honorable Ken Chonga. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Time to this. I think I'll just give Honorable Donya Deris, member for Kisi, because I know you had pressed the intervention button much earlier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support Honorable Chonga's petition. When he was actually making his statement, I've gone through the documents that Kenyans receive, which have problems, starting from education certificates. You find people using fake certificates, and there is nothing which is done about it. People have fake marriage certificates, fake birth certificates. So you see the rate at which we are having fake things in this country, Madam Speaker. It's really worrying. The only fake document that I've identified, original document, it's hard for you to fake the IDs because they have security features like your fingerprint. So to authenticate these documents, Madam Speaker, we must go the national identification way so that we can achieve our target. Otherwise, we'll speak about it. We talk about it today, coming New Year, because Honorable Chonga, this is not the first time he's doing the statement. If Kenyans and of course the leaders, we make this thing to be serious, we can achieve what Honorable Ken Chonga wants to achieve for his people. Another statement, Madam Speaker, you find out that, for example, in our country, we have, I'm just making a comparison. We have TikTokers, we have people who sell information because they know they are going to make a lot of money in selling fake information. They look for witty things, lies, so that they can do their selling. Even these title deeds, they will always resell. So the attitude of reselling and blackmailing and doing everything, Madam Speaker, must come to an end. Thank you, and I support this petition.
Okay, I've seen Honorable Nimrod is here, the chairperson for the Petitions Committee. I think several times we've heard about many petitions relating to land, and it's about time that they looked at it holistically, because the challenges in each petition are similar. So we do hope that as we give it to the Petitions Committee, that they should actually assemble all the petitions relating to land and look at them, and you'll realize there's the same systemic bottlenecks that exist. Okay, thank you. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, morning sitting. A, Treasury Memorandum from the National Treasury and Economic Planning on Decentralized Funds Accounts Committee, Report for 26 constituency in Mombasa, Tana River, Lamu, Taita, Taveta, Kilifi, and Kwale counties for the years 2013, 2014, 2014-2015, and 2015-2016. Number 2, 12 constituencies in Kakamega County for the years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, and 2015-2016. And 3, 5 constituencies in Vihiga County for the years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, and 2015-2016. B, special audit report on government digital payments platform for eCitizen for March 2025 from the Office of the Auditor General. And C, reports of the Auditor General on forensic review of supply chain function, Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, for March 2025 from the Office of the Auditor General. D, submission of nominees for the National Government Constituency Development Fund committees for the following 37 constituencies. 1, Bomet Central, 2, Bureti, 3, Butula, 4, Embakasi South, 5, Jem, 6, Homa Bay Town, 7, Kabete, 8, Kajiado South, 9, Kanduyi, 10, Kerachonyo, 11, Keio North, 12, Gakumo, 13, Kilifi North, 15, Kisauni, 14, Kisauni, 15, Kisauni West, 16, Kitui West, 17, Maragua, 18, Marakwet West, 19, Bere, 20, Mwala, 21, Mwatate, 22, Mwingi North, 23, Nakuru Town, 24, Nandi Hills, 25, India, 26, Nyaribari, Chache, 27, Olekalau, 28, Rongo, 29, Runyenjes, 30, Samburu North, 31, Seme, 32, South Mugirango, 33, Tiati, 34, Turkana East, 35, Wajir South, 36, Webuye West, and 37, Yata. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I lay.
Okay, next order. Honorable Naomi Wako, I think I'm told that you read number 15. If you can repeat it.
Sorry, Honorable Speaker. Number 15, Kisumu West.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Okay, I think we have a statement that has been made by the Honorable Mashua Waithaka, member for Kiambu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A request for statement regarding attempting grabbing of land belonging to one Mr. Elijah Mwangi in Kiambu County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Lands regarding grabbing of land registration number 14747/14 belonging to the late Mr. Elijah Mwangi Kinyanjui in Kiambu County. Honorable Speaker, the family of Mr. Elijah Mwangi of ID number 0971236 has for many years owned and reside on a piece of land LR number 14747/14 in Kiambu County, with their ownership properly documented. The original deed was used to secure a loan from the Consolidated Bank on Yangi Street branch, where it remains in custody. However, following the dismissal of Mr. Mwangi in 2019, the family has faced harassment from individuals presenting an alternative title deed for the same property, alleging that Mr. Mwangi sold the land to them. Notably, the required spousal consent for such a sale was neither sought nor granted, and the claimants have failed to produce any sale agreement, indicating an attempt at land grabbing. Despite efforts by the family to seek government intervention to validate their rightful ownership of the disputed land, their appeals have been frustrated and have borne no fruit. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Lands on the following. 1, the actions being taken to investigate and resolve the reports made by the family regarding the attempted land grabbing, including specific steps being taken by the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development to safeguard the legitimate land rights of the family of the late Mr. Mwangi, Elijah Mwangi, by nullification of the duplicate title deed presented by the claimants. And 2, the strategies being implemented by the ministry to protect lawful landowners from similar fraudulent claims, including established timelines for addressing any grievances raised by the affected parties. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Chairperson for Committee on Lands, Honorable Nyamoke, are you present? Any other member of that committee who can give a commitment and undertaking on behalf of the chair? Okay. Honorable Ochanda, yes?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is noted, and we'll pick it up as a committee. And I want to promise that I'll be up very fast to look for the chair so that this is looked at by next 2 weeks. Okay.
Thank you. Can move to the next order.
Order number 8, the Teachers Service Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 27 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Teacher Service Commission Act. Order number 9, the Basic Education Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 59 of 2023, second reading. reading. Resumption of debate.
Who was on the floor? Okay. I'm told that the member for Kerosoi South was the one who was on the floor and had a balance of time. But in his absence, members who want to contribute, could you kindly press the intervention button? Honorable Donya Doris, do you want to contribute? Because I can see you've pressed the intervention button. Do you want to contribute to the teachers? Okay. Okay. So, honorable members, press the intervention. Honorable Adan Haji Mandera, do you want to contribute to this? You can see him there. Honorable Nyenze, did you want to contribute to this? So you can see people have their cards in, but they're not in. Okay, in the absence of any further interest in this bill, what we can do is, where is the mover to reply? Where is the mover? Honorable Wamaua, you may reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to reply. Madam Speaker, allow me to extend my sincere appreciation to all the honorable members who spoke to this bill, including even those who wanted to contribute and didn't get time, or they are not in within this time that you've called me to reply. And Madam Speaker, the key areas that were raised in the debate were, one, the remuneration of the board members, whose suggestion was that the sub-county education board members should receive allowances akin to other public servants, and it is a valid consideration and can be incorporated through the amendment at the committee of the whole house, Madam Speaker. Two, there was the definition of the sub-county education board, and some honorable members and more to Honorable Kenan sought clarity on whether these boards align with constituency-based structures or administrative sub-county units. But Madam Speaker, using the County Government Act, it is evident that these boards are decentralized units of the County Education Board, and therefore we should ensure we align with the existing government structures. But in case of a different opinion, I think there will still be a chance to speak to it during the time of the committee of the whole house. Madam Speaker, the other one was the appointment of board members, and there is an honorable member who proposed that we remove the wording competitive process in the nomination, and I agree to this because in many of the areas we were spelling out who is supposed to be in the board, and therefore I agree to that, and therefore we shall be able to refine this during the committee of the whole house. Madam Speaker, the other area of concern was the involvement of members of parliament. Madam Speaker, the inclusion of MPs in the board was intended to ensure coordination between the NGCDF allocation and government resources. And without their involvement, I thought there was a risk of duplication or uneven distribution of funds, leading to inefficiencies. But still, if at all, there will still be need to improve on it. I think there is still
enough time during the committee of any of the House, if at all there is anyone who will have an amendment towards it. Madam Speaker, the other area was the co-option of additional experts. Madam Speaker, the bill allows for co-opting experts when necessary. And Madam Speaker, this was particularly in specialized areas such as maybe an ICT required.
Honorable Maua, allow me to interrupt you to welcome the students who are here, to recognize them before they might leave before we recognize them. So I wish to recognize the presence of Nguku Junior School, Kigumo constituency, Murang'a County, who are seated in the public gallery. And also seated in the public gallery is Nairobi Comprehensive School from Dagoretti North constituency, Nairobi County. And Honorable Maua, as you continue with your reply, you can welcome them on our behalf.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I take the opportunity to welcome the students who have come here so that they can see what usually happens in Parliament. And our major work is to make sure that we look at the government businesses. We also look at legislation, and we do amendment also to existing laws, depending on the times that we are in. But we encourage you back in schools to work a hand to make sure in the future there will be members of Parliament or even people of integrity.
Let's give her 2 more minutes so she can complete.
I was concluding by saying they can emulate and be the next members of Parliament if they want to get into that. But we are wishing them to work hard in their schools, incorporating a lot of discipline so that in the future they can be people who can be able to change this country to greater height. Madam Speaker, I was saying the other concern was the co-option of additional experts. And Madam Speaker, in this bill, it is allowing the co-option of experts when necessary, particularly in specialized areas like the ICT. Maybe because we are also dealing with the infrastructure, there are also experts in the name of the quantity surveyors and architecture who can assist. If at all in the board, we do not have anyone of such expertise. Madam Speaker, the other area of concern was the staffing of Sub-County Education Board. And Madam Speaker, in this one, the concern was that county government primarily handle the early childhood education, while basic education falls under the national government. And therefore, this matter will be refined to ensure clear delineation of responsibilities without administrative conflicts. Honorable Speaker, the Basic Education Bill number 59 of 2023 is timely. It is to respond to the growing need for greater public involvement in the decision making, particularly in education, which is a fundamental national development agenda. And by establishing legally recognized sub-county education boards, we bring decision-making closer to the people, ensuring fairer resource allocation, practical governance, and responsiveness to local needs. And with that, Madam Speaker, because a lot had been debated here by members, I want to thank the House for its robust debate and the support. And Madam Speaker, I beg to reply.
We shall defer the proposing and putting the question to a later time. Putting the question to a later time. And honorable members, I just wanted to inform you that we shall defer the motion by Honorable Sabina Chege. She has requested to do it at another time. So we'll move to order number 11. So next order.
Order number 10, motion, implementation of the universal health coverage and of a policy on a mandatory use of public health care facilities by public officers. Order number 11, motion, supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing industries.
Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to move this motion on supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing industries in the country. Madam Speaker, the significance of fertilizer sector, fertilizers for this economy. Thank you. Let me read the motion. Supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing industries. Aware that the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuffs Act 2015 provides for regulation of fertilizer importation in the country. Further aware that the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuffs Board regulates the fertilizer and animal foodstuffs industry, including the manufacture and production of fertilizers, noting that the country currently relies heavily on imported fertilizer due to inadequate local production capacity. Further, noting that the low local production leads to high costs for farmers, reducing their profits and resulting in unhealthy reliance on imported fertilizer. Concerned that this scenario threatens the country's food security in case of supply disruptions and discourages local production, recognizing that local fertilizer production could lead to improved fertilizer quality, increased crop yields, and reduction in environmental harm caused by the use of substandard fertilizers, recalling that the country has the potential to produce fertilizer that could meet the country's domestic demand and also supply the regional market. Further, recognizing that there is need for the government to work with local producers to develop high-quality fertilizer tailored to the needs of Kenyan farmers and crops. Now, therefore, this House resolved that the national government, through Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, supports and promotes local fertilizer manufacturing industries by investing in research and development to bolster the domestic fertilizer manufacturing sector. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to move this motion. Madam Speaker, the significance of the fertilizer in this economy can no longer be gainsaid. Madam Speaker, as you're aware that to date, our economy is stabilizing on the back of the agricultural performance. And this performance relies heavily on fertilizer subsidy. As you are aware, since the coming into government by the Kenya Kwanza regime, the fertilizer subsidies has been one of the most significant items that this government has done that has been able to stabilize the agricultural sector. Today, agricultural sector is contributing significantly in the growth of our economy. And the government has been, the sector has been doing a lot of importation of fertilizers. As at last year, Madam Speaker, the economy imported about 2 million tons of fertilizers from outside the country. And Honorable Speaker, this is something that is not very good for our economy. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the reason why we are importing more fertilizers is because our own economy cannot produce enough fertilizers to support our farmers. And Honorable Speaker, when we form industries, when we encourage investors to start industries that are dealing in manufacturing and fertilizers, this is going to be very good for us because, as you're aware, manufacturing is one of the sectors that we need to promote so that our economy can grow. But one of the things that is hindering the investment in this sector, first of all, is one, the taxes that apply to the manufacturing sector. And some of these taxes, Madam Speaker, are very heavy. One of the taxes that is really stopping the sector, manufacturing sector, from advancing is the recently increased corporation income tax. Madam Speaker, this income tax is a problem because it is leading to many manufacturers exiting this sector, among other sectors. So, Madam Speaker, one of the things that we need to do that I have thought about when I thought about this motion is that going forward, we need to tamper with our taxes that relate to manufacturing sector. This, in a way, is going to encourage many investors who are interested in this sector to come on board. Madam Speaker, it would be interesting for you to note that in the region, the East African region, We have about apparently 15 companies that are involved in this sector. Uganda has about 8 companies, and Tanzania has about 11 companies. These are the companies that are producing fertilizer that is serving the region. And that is the reason why these companies cannot be able to do to supply the needs of the market, the East African market. If you go to countries like South Africa, you will find that manufacturing companies are so many, in the upwards of 100 companies. And that is why their economy is stable and they are able to even to export fertilizers. But as Speaker, if we really support this sector the way it should be, then we would be able to even export fertilizers to the region and even in the East and Central African market. Because some of those markets in the Central African region, they hardly have manufacturing companies doing fertilizers. So, Madam Speaker, this focus is very important. The reason why I think it is very important is because agriculture is going to be, remains the backbone of most economies. Even the emerging economies are still relying on agriculture. So this is something that Kenya can take advantage of, and if we have a very good takeoff, it is a sector that is very green, and all the government needs to do is, first of all, invest in research. Most of the fertilizers that are imported into the country, Madam Speaker, they have not been properly researched. And that is why some of them do not help us in yielding good results, because they are not aligned with the climatic conditions of our country. Also, they do not understand the soil texture of our country. So when you import most of the fertilizers, most of the time they will not give you the results you expect. Also, Madam Speaker, in terms of quality, sometimes when you are importing things from other countries, you are not certain about the quality of those products. But when you have companies that are domiciled here, then you are able to regulate the quality. You are able to see that what is coming out of those factories is something that is really tailored for our market. So, Madam Speaker, this is a motion that I have thought about, and in line with the government focus on investing in the manufacturing sector, I think, Madam Speaker, that we really need to urge government to do something on this front. Madam Speaker, as I will be moving the Division of Revenue Bill in the afternoon, you will note that in the last 2 financial years alone, the government has spent over 50 billion Kenya shillings in fertilizer subsidy. Imagine, Madam Speaker, if these subsidies were going to our own local companies that are doing manufacturing. The amount of jobs that this would really create in those sectors is enormous. Unfortunately, the subsidies are going to some of these companies that are importing fertilizers from outside the country. So, Madam Speaker, this is something that I want to say is very, very important, and Kenya should never be left behind in efforts to strengthen and improve the agricultural sector of our country. Madam Speaker, I wanted to say that having looked at the performance of the economy in the last 5 years, and having seen how our economy continues to diversify, one of the things that we're going to have to do is to encourage also farmers to engage in commercial farming, commercial agriculture. Because most of our farmers are engaged in small-scale agricultural farming. Now, one of the things outcome that we would get as an economy, if we had all these manufacturing companies doing fertilizers in the country, then we are likely to have most farmers getting interest in doing commercial farming. And commercial farming is more profitable because, to that end, even our tax bracket is going to improve. We do not tax agriculture, Madam Speaker, because most of farmers are doing small-scale farming. So some of these challenges that are forcing farmers to do small-scale farming is availability of cheap quality fertilizers from our own economy. Madam Speaker, I move and ask the Honorable how many people want to support? No, many people are getting interest. I would like to urge the Honorable.
For choice.
I'm spoiled for choice, Madam Speaker, but let me have the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi to support. Thank you. To second.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And the move of the motion to give me the time and so that I can be able to put in to support this, to second this motion, well executed by my brother and daddy. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, we want to have fertilizer, and we want to use all the ways to be able to have the fertilizer actually manufactured here. Because first and foremost, Madam Speaker, this country has enough personnel, of enough professionals to be able to come up with a fertilizer that is actually made for this country. Importation of supplies of fertilizer, Madam Speaker, sometimes we import the quality that is not appropriate to our farming, and therefore you will find that, in fact, this country knows that we imported one of the ex-member minister imported, I don't know whether he was aware that whatever was importing was fake, and that even cost him a job. And therefore, I think it's important that we actually encourage the country and request to the government to encourage investors to be able to actually set up manufacturing industries for local manufacturing of the fertilizer. One of the important things that as we do that, of course, will create jobs for our youth and everybody else, and of course for professionals in agriculture. And again, of course, we'll be able to have fertilizer that is actually appropriate, as mentioned by the move of this motion, that actually is appropriate to our soil quality and quantity. And we find that, of course, the fertilizer that you get here in Western Kenya, or for that reason, in Rift Valley, for example, may not be the same as that in the coast or other places, so that we'll be able to have fertilizer manufactured locally here, which is appropriate to the area that actually is requiring that particular fertilizer. Of course, the other thing is that we spend so much money in importation of this, and of course the prices are fixed. There's no flexibility. As mentioned by the mover, that again is something that is very important. Sometimes you are forced to import and spend a lot of foreign exchange importation to pay the whoever is importing or whoever is selling or whoever is exporting the fertilizer to this country. And therefore, again, that is something that Madam Speaker will be able to regulate. The other one is that that's very important is to improve the quality, which I've just mentioned as well. And because the quality of the fertilizer should be appropriate to the soil requirement. So therefore, again, if it's locally manufactured here, and I want to encourage the government to encourage whoever companies are, even if they are from overseas, they come and invest here, and then be able to have fertilizer actually manufactured locally here. And I think that, again, is something that is very, very important. And of course, the other thing that is mentioned here is the future, because we do not want just, because the population of this country is growing on a daily basis. And therefore, for us to be able to have enough food, we should have enough food, because this country in the region is outstanding. There are a lot of professionals here. Again, given that kind of thing, that kind of scenario, Madam Speaker, I want us to make sure that this country is relied on, so that instead of even importing these fertilizers from overseas, surrounding countries like Uganda, Tanzania, and all other southern Sudan, the East African bloc should be importing fertilizer from here. And I think we have the capacity and the capability of doing that. That again answers the foreign exchange, which is also important to be improving the standard of living and the standard of our economy, so that it can be able to improve on the economy generally. So we also want to have this so that it becomes, like East Africa countries have been relying on Kenya for many other things. And I think it's important, I think the move of the motion, and it's right to say that we should be able to have this area as a central area for the Eastern Central African countries to import sugar, quality fertilizer from here, because we will then have people going to these countries to assess the kind of soil texture, so they can have appropriate fertilizers for these countries, instead of us actually importing this fertilizer from the other countries. And therefore, we should actually, as a country, and this House is actually empowered to be able to ask you how this motion. This motion is going to the Committee of Agriculture, which should be discussed, and I'm also a member of this Committee of Agriculture, and of course have the relevant ministries to be able to assist us in improving the fertilizer, and of course to see if we can be able to be manufacturing fertilizers for this country. Madam Speaker, I want to end up there, and I stand to support and of course support the mover of this motion, and therefore it's very, very appropriate and be able to move as it's supposed to be. I support.
Honorable members, I now propose the motion that aware that the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuffs Act 2015 provides for the regulation of fertilizer importation in the country, and further aware that the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuffs Board regulates the fertilizer and animal foodstuffs industry, including the manufacture and production of fertilizers, noting that the country currently relies heavily on the imported fertilizer due to inadequate local production capacity. Further noting that the low local production leads to high costs for farmers, reducing their profits and results in an unhealthy reliance on imported fertilizer. Concerned that this scenario threatens the country's food security in case of supply disruptions and discourages local production. Recognizing that the local fertilizer production could lead to improved fertilizer quality, increased crop yields, and a reduction in environmental harm caused by the use of substandard fertilizers. Recalling that the country has the potential to produce fertilizer that could meet the country's domestic demand and also supply the regional market, and further recognizing that there is need for the government to work with local producers to develop high-quality fertilizer tailored to the needs of Kenyan farmers and crops. And now, therefore, this House resolves that the national government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock and Development, supports and promotes local fertilizer manufacturing industries by investing in research and development to bolster domestic fertilizer manufacturing sector. Honorable members who want to debate this motion, please press the intervention button. Honorable Gideon Ochanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this motion of my good neighbor, Honorable Atandi. Madam Speaker, we are an agriculture-led economy. And we are doing very little to realize that we are agriculture-led. We are virtually importing everything in the sector that we ought not to be doing what we are doing. We are importing machinery. All the inputs in agriculture are imported. We are importing fuel. We are importing fertilizer. We are importing virtually kila kitu, everything. And there's no way we can move forward as a country if we ignore what goes on into agriculture. So, Madam Speaker, at the moment, as a government, what we have realized a little bit much more earlier, we've been identifying what we call strategic areas of investment. The way we've been investing in KQ, we ought to have invested in agriculture in a manner that things that are easy to do, like manufacturing fertilizer, if Uganda, Tanzania, and all these countries that have basically been relying on Kenya are able to produce their own, what's wrong with us? And I think as a government, this must have been realized or ought to have been realized a little bit much more earlier, that if there are no investors, there are no private investors that were to get into this, the government ought to have gotten into this as a strategic investment for purposes of making sure that the economy that really drives this country, there's much more input that are cheaper and are available. The biggest problem over a period of time, Madam Speaker, is that, a lot of noise in countries have a correlation with food. There's a correlation between food production, food availability, and the noises that go on in the country. The more people are without food, the more they get angry over little things. And I think this is something that we really ought to have seen as a country, and it could be part of too many things that are happening around, that nobody is patient enough to wait because everybody is hungry, prices of food are up, people are unable to buy or unable to consume because of pricing. And if we looked at all these things and get into a manner where when we're talking about input, like subsidies that have been going on in agriculture for the last 2 years, we've done very well in terms of production, but subsidies are not sustainable. And because subsidies are not sustainable, as we talk now, there's a problem in terms of fertilizer uptake. There are queues and queues everywhere, and the cereal boards for people looking for, farmers looking for fertilizer, and everybody's racing towards the cereal board because of subsidy. We are not saying that fertilizer is not there. There are fertilizers in shops, there are vet shops that have a lot of fertilizer, but people are queuing and are waiting for this because of the subsidy. So what I'm trying to say is that subsidy is not sustainable. We have to get a way of how to do away with all these things and get into a direction where we can produce our own fertilizer and to make sure that farm inputs are made a little bit cheaper, for food to be produced more, and for prices to go down. And in that way, we'll be reducing quite a bit of noise that are happening around us. Now, Madam Speaker, if you look at the times when a fertilizer is needed, we are in more or less the same ecological situation with the rest of our neighbors. When it rains here in Kenya, so it rains in Tanzania and in Uganda and parts of Rwanda. So at that particular time, that's the time that farmers really depend on this kind of thing like fertilizer, on inputs like fertilizer. And that's the time now that Uganda has to hold theirs, Tanzania has to hold theirs, such that their farmers are able to get these fertilizers, and you who are dependent on importing goes without fertilizer. So I think as I support this, I want to believe that it should not just be taken for granted. The government must look into this in an aggressive manner, so that even if there are no investors, even if there are no private people who want to get into this, that the government must look at this. You can't have food reserves when you don't have reserves for purposes of making sure that food is there. And I think that's where we are really going wrong. So, Madam Speaker, I support this, and I want to believe that the government really needs to wake up. It's late. If you have not done this earlier, it's really late, and the more late it is, the more noises we are going to be experiencing because of food prices. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Karachuonyo, Honourable Okum.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to contribute on this important motion.
Can I have Sojata Terms next to come by? I don't seem to have any support system here.
Oh, thank you. Let me thank my friend Atandi for bringing this motion. It is important. It concerns the heart of everybody. A country with no food is not a country. Any country must be able to feed itself. Ever since the beginning of time, we have known Kenya as an agricultural country. Yet, Madam Speaker, we don't see we don't seem to be acting as an agricultural country. It is a pity that Kenya imports food. It is a pity that sometimes we don't even have food to an extent that some of our people are portrayed as the most suffering people in this continent. And yet we have the capacity to produce. I know in order that we can produce more, we need fertilizers. And then if we buy fertilizers from outside, Madam Speaker, I know we are paying a lot more than we would have done for food if we produce our own fertilizers. If you go to a place like where I come from, you find people don't use fertilizers, but still they harvest. Meaning if they had fertilizers, they would produce a lot more per acre. So the idea that we should actually manufacture locally is something I must support because it will avail fertilizers to more people, and therefore we will be able to produce more. That will reduce even the cost of living, in that we will be getting more agricultural products from within our own country, and we can manage the production so that everybody can be able to get food. Madam Speaker, I support this bill because I realize that if we do produce fertilizers from within, we will also be employing more people to do the manufacturing of the fertilizers. So since we suffer from unemployment to the extent we know, we must be able to think of how we can be able to create employment. And this is just one area that can help us to create employment in this country. I therefore see it that this is one area that we must spend a lot of effort on. To do this sufficiently, I urge that we should train our students on agricultural activities, various types, so that when we begin to manufacture locally, manufacture fertilizers locally, we will be doing that when we have well-trained staff to do this kind of thing, because that's the only way that we can be able to increase food in this country. Madam Speaker, I support this. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to welcome students seated in the Speaker's Gallery this morning. We have students from Nairobi Comprehensive School, Dagoretti North Constituency, Nairobi County. We also have in the public gallery this morning students from Bishop Lawi E. Matthew Primary School, North Imenti Constituency, Meru County, and Koinange Comprehensive School in Kinangop Constituency, Nyandarua County. You are welcome to the National Assembly to continue observing proceedings of the House. And on behalf of the House, I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Marwa Kitayama. You are the first one online from Korea East. Please welcome the students, and you may proceed also to debate the motion.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to first and foremost welcome our students who have found time to come to this august house. This is the people's house. This is your house. This is where you send your members of parliament to come and discuss, debate, and articulate your issues and those that concern the nation at large. And I want to encourage all of you that even as you continue to pursue your studies, that you may find it appropriate that in the course of choosing your careers, choose widely, but if all of you can end up here, then the better, so that we can make Kenya together better together. I also want to take this opportunity to join all parents who have sent their children to school, and then in the process, these children are now going back home. So I'm with you in prayer. This house prays for you for journey mercies as you travel back home, and that you may find favor even at home as you proceed to do your homeworks and studying for that is in your hearts. Thank you for the teachers who have continuously taken care of our children. And as you release them back home, we pray for you also that even in your families, that God may give you blessings because you've done well this term. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if I may contribute to this, and specifically, Madam Speaker, before I contribute, there are students from Gibarori Primary School. Gibarori Primary School is in Korea East constituency. I want to acknowledge that they are also part of this proceedings today, and I do wish them well. And I also want to thank my teachers, because for this year, Madam Speaker, we were able to take to the university the highest number ever. Korea East was able to register 713 students going to university, something that has never happened in the past. And I want to thank the collaboration of everyone in Korea East and the great people of Korea for this, and the parents who support us. Madam Speaker, back to this motion. Madam Speaker, it is not rocket science that the reason why this government is subsidizing fertilizer so that we can increase production, it is because it is an important thing and it is the right thing to do. So, Madam Speaker, it then goes without saying that the foreign exchange that is used to get this fertilizer into the country, what happens is that we are creating employment in the countries of origin where this fertilizer comes from. And we are also losing in the process, in the exchange, we're also losing monies that we could have used to do something else, and the same monies would have used to set up fertilizer factories in this country, so that then we are able to employ the thousands and thousands of students that we churn out of our universities every year. Madam Speaker, I also want to note that in the beginning of this program of subsidy, Madam Speaker, it was met by a lot of skepticism. But now that it has become successful, now we have even new emerging challenges, where now cartels have moved into this space and be able to get fertilizer cheaply. They hoard it and then they start selling it at exorbitant prices, when now they are off market in the stores. Madam Speaker, establishing our own factories here, in addition to creating employment and making sure that we have timely supply of fertilizer, it also breeds and encourages research. Because, Madam Speaker, our universities, and we thank our universities for the good work that they are doing. But, Madam Speaker, this is another area that we are able to again provide space for research to be done, and therefore broaden the minds and the knowledge of our people, even as we affirm that we are as good as we know. The entire world knows that we are very good. We have very, very innovative young people, and world over you go, you'll find a Kenyan in some research institutions, some factories, we have very, very brilliant young people. And this is the right way to go, so that we're able to create space for them to contribute to this nation building. Madam Speaker, I do support and I do pray that this House is going to not only pass this motion, also that implementation committee will also push it to the level that we actually see action. And I want to urge the executive that this is an area that one would easily find favor with the people of Kenya if we were to invest appropriately in this area. And also, of course, urge the trade departments so that we can have laws that are friendly, so that investors are able to come in a friendly way and in an easy way, so that there is ease of doing business. And in the process, everybody then goes home feeling that this country is that country that they can destine, and as they do so, then they're also able to create further use and be useful in this part of the world. Madam Speaker, I support and I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member for Kuria East. Honorable members, I understand that the Deputy Speaker, you had agreed that whoever wants to contribute to this motion to go to the intervention button. So let's follow that. The Honorable Zamzam Chimba, Member for Mombasa County.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza niweze kuambia watu wangu wa Mombasa, nimekuwa likizo karibu miezi miwili, hamkuniona nikiwa na ugua, lakini nimerudi na niona bunge na nimerudi na tuanze kuchapa kazi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nachukua fursa hii kuweza kumpongeza Mheshimiwa Atandi kwa kuleta mjadala huu leo, ambao anasisitiza kuwa tuweze kuwa na viwanda vyetu vya mbolea ili kuweza kuboresha ukulima ndani ya taifa hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza tukiwa na viwanda vyetu ama pia vile viwanda ambavyo tuko navyo kuweza kuongezea, manake ilikuwa tunachukua mbolea kutoka nje kwa sababu viwanda vyetu havikuweza kutosheleza wakulima wote. Kwa hiyo mimi naweza kusema serikali ikiwekeza kwenye kujenga viwanda hapa Kenya vya mbolea itaweza kutuletea faida kubwa sana. Vijana wetu watapata ajira, na tunajua kuwa wakati huu na hata baada ya corona vijana wengi walipoteza kazi zao sana na nafasi za kazi zimekuwa haba. Kwa hiyo tukijenga viwanda vingi, tukiongezea viwanda vya mbolea, itakuwa imetoa nafasi ya ajira kwa vijana wetu katika taifa hili. Jambo la pili, Mheshimiwa Spika, hapa nafikiri mwaka jana Mheshimiwa Naibu wa Spika dada yetu Mheshimiwa Gladys Sholei aliweza kuleta mjadala wa mbolea ambazo zilikuwa zinaingia katika taifa hili, zilikuwa na sumu, ikawa wakulima wanatumia na hawakujua, kwa sababu ilileta maradhi mengi sana kama kansa, mambo ambayo yalikuwa ya kutamausha sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Na katika ubora wa bidhaa Mheshimiwa Spika, pengine ni sisi wenyewe tuweze kuwa na viwanda vyetu hapa Kenya, na tunaweza kufanya uchunguzi wa kutosha tukajua kuwa bidhaa hizi zinazotoka katika kiwanda fulani ni bidhaa ambazo ziko katika sawa ukiangalia afya na mazingira. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo tukiwa na viwanda vyetu vya mbolea itakuwa hata afya yetu na mazingira yetu yatakuwa sawa, kwa sababu tutakuwa tunaangalia bidhaa, ubora wa bidhaa katika taifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine Mheshimiwa Spika, mazingira yetu ama udongo wetu uko tofauti na udongo wa mataifa ambao sisi tunatoa mbolea Mheshimiwa Spika, na pengine tukiwa na viwanda vyetu hapa itakuwa inaangaliwa udongo wetu unazalisha vipi. Tukiongeza hii mbolea itakuwa ina muhimu, itakuwa ina afadhali katika mazao ama italeta madhara Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo itakuwa sisi tunatengeza mbolea ambayo inalingana na ile hali ya ardhi na udongo wetu Mheshimiwa Spika. Jambo lingine Mheshimiwa Spika, amezungumza Mheshimiwa Atandi kuwa katika miaka miwili iliyopita Kenya imetumia takriban shilingi bilioni 50 kuweza kuleta mbolea ambayo inakuwa katika ile subsidies ama bei ya kupungua Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ukiangalia mpaka sasa wakulima wanapanga foleni katika cereal board wakiweza kutafuta mbolea, wanakesha pale Mheshimiwa Spika, ili waweze kupata mbolea ambayo iko na bei nafuu Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini ikiwa tutaongeza viwanda vyetu Mheshimiwa Spika, haya mapeni yote ambayo tumepeleka mataifa ya nje, tutaweza tukaboresha mbolea yetu na tukauza katika bei nafuu, kwa sababu tutakuwa na viwanda vya kutosha Mheshimiwa Spika. Hivyo tunaweza kupunguza budget ya kuweza kutoa bidhaa kutoka nje Mheshimiwa Spika. Jambo lingine Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka kuweza kusema kuwa tukiweza kutoa ama kuimport bidhaa kutoka nje, unapata tunatumia pesa nyingi katika clearance na mambo mengi. Inakuwa mbolea wakati mwingine inakaa katika kule bandarini kingoja clearance kwa muda mrefu, na wakulima huku wamekaa wanasubiri kupata mbolea Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini viwanda vyetu vikiwa vimeongezwa hapa Kenya, mkulima anaweza kaingia katika kiwanda chochote akanunua mbolea na akaweza kulima kwa wakati. Wengi leo wanalalamika kuwa mvua imeanza, shamba zao wamelima lakini hawawezi kupanda kwa sababu ya uadhimu ama ukosefu wa mbolea Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo tukiweza kuleta mbolea ambao ni itakuwa ya hapa nyumbani, itaweza kurahisisha sana, wakulima watakuwa wanapata mbolea kwa wepesi na hivi kuweza kulima na kupanda kwa wakati mwafaka Mheshimiwa Spika. Na jambo lingine pia itazidisha uchumi wa taifa letu, manake pesa nyingi tunazipeleka nje, lakini ikiwa budget yetu tutafanya na mapeni yanazunguka katika taifa letu Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa yani faida kubwa inarudi katika taifa Mheshimiwa Spika. Na awali ya yote itakuwa pia tumepunguza maradhi, kina mama wamelazwa hospitali kwa sababu ya chakula ama vyakula ambavyo wamekuwa kila ambavyo vimetumika mbolea za kutoka nje, na mbolea aina hizo zimethibitika. Hata alivyosema dada yetu Mheshimiwa Gladys Cholei alilia sana hapa katika bunge, akasema hizi mbolea zimekuwa ndio chanzo cha maradhi hapa Kenya Mheshimiwa Spika. Ukiangalia ardhi yetu, ubora wa ardhi, ubora wa ule udongo umeweza kupotezwa kwa sababu hizi mbolea zimekuja zikaharibu mazingara, na maji yakitoka katika udongo yakiingia kwenye mito yetu, unapata watu wanakunywa maji ambayo ina sumu Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu ya kuweza kupitisha mbolea aina fulani ambazo zimetoka nje Mheshimiwa Spika, na zimejipata katika vyakula vyetu na watu wamekula na wamekuja wakapata maradhi ambayo wengi wao wamepoteza maisha yao Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo mimi naunga sana mkono, nasema hapa vijana watapata ajira, afya itakuwa bora, chakula kitakuwa kwa wingi katika taifa, na malalamishi pia yatapungua Mheshimiwa Spika, manake mtu yoyote mwenye njaa lazima atapiga kelele, lakini akiwa ameshiba na ameshiba chakula ambacho ni kizuri, ambacho hakimletei maradhi, hata katika hospitali zetu pia tutapunguza foleni za watu wenye kuingia na maradhi Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo inatokana na chakula ambacho kimeingia sumu Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo mimi nimpongeze sana Mheshimiwa Atandi kuweza kuleta huu mjadala ambao ni muhimu sana kwa Wakenya. Ila na mimi napenda kusema hivi, wakulima waangaliwe vizuri Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu hao ndo wanatupa lishe bora, hao ndo wanafanya Wakenya wanakuwa na shibe Mheshimiwa Spika. Waweze pia hata tukifungua viwanda vyetu, bei ya mbolea iweze kushuka chini, kwa sababu wengi wanapanga foleni katika National Cereals Board kutafuta mbolea, kwa sababu mbolea ya pale huwa ina wepesi wa bei. Lakini tukifungua viwanda vyetu na tupunguze bei, pia tutakuwa tumewafanyia nafuu, na itakuwa wao wakulima wanalima wakiwa na raha, na bidhaa vitatoka vizuri. Kenya itakuwa ni Kenya iliyostawi, kwa sababu tunasema ukulima ndio uti wa mgongo wa taifa, na wao wakulima wakiwa na raha, basi sisi pia wa Kenya tutakuwa na furaha. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana mbunge wa Mombasa. Ningependa kuchukua fursa hii kukaribisha wanafunzi wetu ambao wamekuja kutembelea bunge, ambao wameketi katika ukumbi wa Spika kutoka shule ya Giba Rossi JSS, Kuria East, Migori County. Tuwakaribishe katika bunge. Na pia katika ukumbi wa umma tuko na wanafunzi kutoka Townview Primary ambayo iko Oljororok, Nyandarua County. Karibuni katika bunge muweze kufuatilia mambo yanayoendelea katika bunge. Na ningependa kumuita kiongozi katika bunge, Mheshimiwa Naomi Wako, ambaye ni mbunge wa Marsabit County, aweze kuwakaribisha na pia kuchangia katika mada.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to that, as I also welcome the students from different schools. Honorable Speaker, it is great to have young people to come and see what happens here in Parliament. It is through this that they learn. Mine is just to welcome them to Parliament as they observe and see what is happening, and also encourage them to work very hard, study, so that they can become great people in future. It wasn't easy for us to be here. It wasn't easy for us to study because some of us come from very humble backgrounds. But today we are here legislating and seeing how best we can run this government. So it is upon our students, together with their parents, the teachers, to combine efforts so that they can be great people in future, and also some of them represent the nation sometime in future in this Parliament. So mine is to wish you all the best as you study hard, and also encourage the teachers also, because many of us are who we are because of the investment that the teachers made. And mine is also to encourage the teachers, the parents also, to continue supporting their children. Honorable Speaker, the issue of fertilizer and having our own production and manufacturing here in our country is the most important thing that we can discuss today. And I want to encourage many of us to debate on this, because many Kenyans are farmers and they are depending on our contribution and our guidance, and through our contributions, then we can be able to see the direction the country can take. I also want to congratulate Honorable Atandi for coming up with this very timely motion, and it is my prayer that the committee will give this all the attention it deserves, and that it will be implemented soon. Honorable Speaker, our country, as I said, we have so many farmers who depend on farming. Although these days the rains, we cannot depend a lot on the rains, many of our people, many of Kenyans have educated their children through farming, and many of them are still passionate. Unfortunately, today the young people are not interested in farming, but that is the only place that we can invest in and also earn our living. Honorable Speaker, it is the only place that we can create employment for our young people, and it's also for grown-ups who are, taking care of their families and looking for funds. Honorable Speaker, the country currently depends on the imported manufacturers, which is very unfortunate. 50 years, 60 years after independence, we are still importing fertilizer from outside. We are promoting other people. We are creating job employment there. We are giving people a lot of opportunity, and yet we are denying our locals that opportunity. So the more we encourage the local manufacturers, the better for our country. If we do that, then we will be able to harvest more, because if we depend on the outside manufacturers and the importation, of course, sometimes there are delays here and there, and sometimes, like this time now, the farmers want to plant, and yet the fertilizers are not there, because the cartels have also taken advantage, and they are trying to play in between, and it is disadvantageous to our farmers. But if we have our local manufacturers, productions will be done on time, and everything will be relevant even to the soil and everything. The farmers will be able to buy at a cheaper rate than what we are now spending, and that means then we have created job employment for our local people. We have also used our own resources to manufacture and to produce. We have also released the fertilizers on time for the farmers to use. Honorable Speaker, it is only when we will produce our own fertilizers we will be able to have quick solutions to the challenges that will come as we do our planting and as we try to do different things. We will also be able to increase our food production because the farmers will easily collect their fertilizers and they'll be able to use them. We will be able also to grow economically because currently our country is going through so many things. And it is only when the government has given the subsidized fertilizers that our food production has gone up. And I want to encourage our government and especially our president, who is so passionate, to continue with the same passion because it is only through that we can have food security in our country. Honorable Speaker, as I said, job creation will be there. And then the low cost, as I said, because it is locally produced, will be able to overcome the high cost now. Honorable Speaker, I agree with the motion that the national government through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development supports and promotes local fertilizers manufacturing industries by investing in research and development to booster the domestic fertilizer manufacturing sector. That is the only way we can create our own wealth. That is the only way we can grow our farmers. That is the only way we can encourage our young people who have the knowledge in farming and doing agricultural business, and also those who are good at doing research. We can be able to utilize their skills. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Professor Phyllis Bartow, member for Moiben.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also contribute to this motion on fertilizer, and also to thank Honorable Tandy for also bringing this motion to the House. Madam Speaker, I come from a very important region in this country, the breadbasket of Kenya, and that is Uasin Gishu. And fertilizer is a very key component in my region. Madam Speaker, when the current government came in place, they gave farmers promises, and one of them was subsidy, or the fertilizer subsidy. Madam Speaker, and that was a way of building capacity for farmers so that they can increase productivity. And also, having been a product of maize farming, because that is how I was educated. I am a professor, courtesy of maize growing by my parents. It is unfortunate that, Madam Speaker,
Honorable Bartow, for the sake of the students and to encourage them, I would like you to say you are a professor in which field?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the students in the House, I would want to welcome you to this very important house where laws of the land are made. My name is Professor Phyllis Bartow, Member of Parliament, Moiben constituency. And formerly, before I became a Member of Parliament, I was a Professor of Linguistics at Egerton University for the last 25 years. So I welcome you, and I want to encourage you to work hard in school, be disciplined, be focused, and one time you may find yourselves here, or you will be very senior, important members of the Republic of Kenya, including even being the President of the Republic of Kenya. Karibuni sana, and feel at home. On the issue of fertilizer, as I've said, Madam Speaker, I was a beneficiary of having gotten a chance to go to school because my father or my parents were farmers. It is important that we encourage local manufacturers, Madam Speaker, because we have come of age as a country. We have the best researchers in the country who can test our soil and determine the kind of fertilizer and the quality of fertilizer we require. We no longer need to depend on imports from countries where we are not even sure of the quality, and given the situation where we cannot control their entry, because sometimes our officers at the entry are compromised. Madam Speaker, we look at the case in point right now. In my constituency or in my county, it is the planting season. We are supposed to be planting, and we should have started even as early as last month. Madam Speaker, I can tell you, the stress the farmers are undergoing in the North Rift is not something to, it is very painful. In my constituency, Muiben, I have 3 regions or cooperatives who are picked to be distributing fertilizers to the farmers. At the moment, in Progressive, the farmers are queuing, there is no fertilizer. When you go to your teach in Sedgoitward, the farmers are queuing, there is no fertilizer. At the National Cereals Board in Eldoret itself, there is no fertilizer, Madam Speaker. If we can encourage our local manufacturers, our own, to manufacture that fertilizer and support it, they'll ensure that the fertilizer is available and it is timely. They will also ensure that the fertilizer is available throughout the year, so that the farmers don't have to be waiting until the planting season, so they rush to the cereals and they go and they queue, and sometimes some of them go back without getting it, and it becomes very expensive. Madam Speaker, if this fertilizer is availed and it is done by the local manufacturers, it is also going to promote it is going to create employment for our young people. I am imagining if we will be having several manufacturers pitched in several parts of Kenya, all these young people, these researchers, these young scholars who have gone to school and they have done, they are experts in agriculture, would be utilized, and that's also another way of creating employment. And in that case, it will ease the burden of government and the young people. Like the other case we had, I saw on social media that there's a group of youth who have started a party called Jobless Youth in Kenya, and they want to register it as a political party. I mean, we should be creative and look for avenues where we have local manufacturers creating job opportunities and also supporting society. Madam Speaker, the issue of fertilizer is also very key, and it will enable us also to be exporters. Why is it that we should be receiving from other countries, yet we have capacity and we can manufacture our own fertilizer, enough for Kenya and enough for Africa, and even export outside countries like China, where most of the fertilizer people bring it. And we have the ingredients, we have the scholars, we have the capacity, we have the brains. What are we waiting for? I think it's high time we take it seriously and implement it. It should not just be a matter of debating it here in the House, and then from there it goes to the archives and nothing happens. We should walk the talk. Let us encourage, let us promote our local manufacturers, and let them even begin work as soon as yesterday, so that come next year, we will be having enough fertilizer. Last year, our farmers were duped to buy very substandard fertilizer, and even the production was very poor, especially last year, because so many of them went to sellers, and they bought very expensive and very useless fertilizer, or even fertilizer which is not suitable for their soil, because because of the scarcity and because of the shortage and the desperation, every farmer was willing to just pay something to get fertilizer so that they plant. Because the planting season in Kenya is very definite. You miss it and you lose it. So sometimes when it is your turn to plant and you don't have the fertilizer, it becomes problematic. So, Madam Speaker, I am very happy that this motion is being debated today, and I'm looking forward that we will not be, sooner we will be seeing our our entrepreneurs, our manufacturers rolling and starting the manufacturing business so that our farmers, just other than just saying we are building capacity for farmers, we are enabling them, we are giving them subsidy. Let us subsidy remain with our local manufacturers. Let us support our own. Let us grow our own. Let us believe in ourselves. Let us believe in Kenya and believe that it is possible. We shouldn't be looking at our borders and looking for support. We have come of age, Madam Speaker. It is high time now we sit and have confidence in ourselves and support our local manufacturers and support our own, and it will be good all the way. I support the motion.
Thank you. Honorable members, I would like to welcome students. Seated in the public gallery, we have students from Chelilis Girls Secondary School from Bureti constituency in Kericho County. Welcome to the National Assembly to continue observing proceedings of the House. We can welcome them in our usual way. Thank you. Honorable members, I'll allow the member for Keio North to welcome students. He's the first in line. The Honorable Adams Kipsanai, member for Keio North. You may welcome students and continue the debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to welcome our students to this House of Parliament where laws are made. And I want to encourage them that as they pursue their studies, they must have a vision and an interest that one day they are going to serve in this August House. I would also want to thank the parents for putting much more efforts in paying their school fees in order to see their children pursue their education. Welcome to this House and feel encouraged. Madam Speaker, to the motion of today, I would want to thank Honorable Atandi for coming up with this very important motion. Madam Speaker, the issue of fertilizer in this country is very, very important. But it beats logic that we are the leaders in the region in terms of infrastructure, in terms of digital development, ICT, in terms of the economy. We are giant in the region. But we have failed as a country to sort out the food security of our people. So, Madam Speaker, the motion is even late. The decision to establish a manufacturing of fertilizer in our country is a bit late for us as a country. However, this thing will be very important to our country because this is the only way of guaranteeing food security to our population and also create job opportunities for Kenyans. Kenyan people is blessed to, the Kenya country is blessed to have a young population whereby there are very, very many youth who are unemployed. And this is the only way that they can be encouraged to join agribusiness and also advance themselves economically and have something in their pockets. Secondly, Madam Speaker, is about food safety of the food. Currently in our country and in the world, we have many cases of diseases, mainly caused by what we consume. And when you look at on the issue of diseases, especially cancer, research has shown that mostly is contributed by what we consume as a population. So having a manufacturing farm that takes care of the interest of our population is very, very important. Madam Speaker, farmers are at the moment making minimal profit margins because of the cost of fertilizer. But if we have a manufacturing farm within our country, we are sure that Kenyans will afford fertilizer in a cheap price so that they can have to break the margin. And that is the only way that, as a country, we are going to stabilize our economy and also help our farmers grow themselves. Madam Speaker, this thing will also help in terms of sorting out the issue of short supply. At the moment, there are many farmers who are trying to beat deadlines. You know, we have the planting cycles, whereby if you miss the first quarter of the year, especially in the North Rift and other parts of the country, it will be very, very difficult for a farmer to maybe go back and cultivate. And the problem is that there are minimal supply. In as much as the government is putting a lot of energy on subsidized fertilizer, which has cushioned farmers to some extent, it is not helping and curing the problem that has been bedeviling us as a country for a very long time. So having this initiative of establishing a manufacturing of fertilizer in our country will help us sort out all these problems as a country. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is that in as much as we discuss the issue of manufacturing our own fertilizer as a country, we must ask ourselves one pertinent question. The last regime, around 2014, 2016, the Jubilee government started a manufacturing company in Uasin Gishu. But the project didn't take off. And when we ask questions, you will be told that there are other interests that came in. And apart from interest of cartels who are interested in supplying fertilizer, we must also sort out the issue of cost of production. Many people are afraid even to establish farms in Kenya because of the cost of electricity, the cost of establishing a business because of a long list of requirements from licenses, from county, wherever. County governments want something, the national government, KEBS. So it is also high time that we must also reduce the high list of demands for any investor who would want to establish a manufacturing in our country, because that is the only way that it will help us as a country to have our own manufacturing farm, that will help the youth to get employment, farmers to get supply on time, the country to be food security, and so forth and so on. Otherwise, I want to say thank you very much to Honorable Atandi. This is very, very important motion that will help our country proceed much further. Thank you very much. And as I wind up also, I must recognize the efforts put by our government of ensuring that in as much as we are having this problem, farmers at least are smiling with some difficulties in putting down their crops. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Danson Mashako, member for Undanyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this important motion brought to this House by one Honorable Atandi, trying to make sure that the government of this country prioritize the establishment of a factory, to manufacture fertilizer. Honorable Speaker, this country, we are known for very many things. Today, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the things that are happening in this country, we have the best professors, the researchers in our universities. Today, Honorable Speaker, we are one of the countries that have adopted technology in a very fast rate that the world is worried that this country can become first world if the rate at which Kenyans are adopting to technology is sustained. But Honorable Speaker, having very good things to talk about in Kenya, we still are not able to look at our basic requirements as a country. And for the longest time, we've been told that Kenya, 80% of our population rely on agriculture. And agriculture is the backbone of this country. We've been told this many times. But again, we are so quick to bring, to trade rather than to look at our core issues that affect agriculture in this country. And therefore, this motion that is coming to urge the government to set up a fertilizer plant, it must be supported across the country, across these houses of parliament. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, the government must come up quickly to implement what this House would resolve at the end of this motion. Honorable Speaker, we've been running a national fertilizer subsidy program that has been consuming a lot of resources. Every budget that comes to this House, Honorable Speaker, billions of money are set aside to run the subsidy program, the fertilizer subsidy program. But it gives a lot of, there are many issues that bedevil this national fertilizer subsidy program. Honorable Speaker, you saw recently farmers across the country, raising their voices because fertilizer did not arrive on time. The delays to receive this fertilizer in this country has really disrupted, the patterns of farming in this country, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, yes, we have a national fertilizer subsidy program that this government prides itself that it is working. It has improved the food production. We had the president recently talking about how much now we are able to produce enough food for the country. But Honorable Speaker, questions are asked. The delays that happened this year, this planting season, we've had some members talking about, farmers up to now, some of them have not even received this fertilizer. And yet the planting season is nearing, coming to an end. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, until we realize that this fertilizer subsidy, we cannot continue relying on it. It cannot, its sustainability raises a lot of questions. Because we ask ourselves, for how long are we going to subsidize fertilizer? Yes, we've moved it from around 6,000 shillings. Now farmers are buying fertilizer at 2,500. But we're asking ourselves, for how long are we going to continue subsidizing fertilizer in this country? And we know resources are constrained, Honorable Speaker. We cannot continue having, a subsidy that will run to perpetuity. We must start thinking around how to bring, cost of fertilizer down sustainably, because subsidy is not sustainable, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll tell you, we have spent over 50 billion shillings subsidizing fertilizer in the last few years. And this is so much money compared to setting up a fertilizer producing plant. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, this motion is coming at the right time. We need to, quickly move out and ask the government, this House must resolve to even give timelines when this should come to pass, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if we are to have food security as a country, we cannot continue relying on fertilizer that is imported. You remember during post-COVID-19, there were a lot of disruptions on getting fertilizer to countries. So therefore, farmers really suffered. Today we're talking about the war in Ukraine, Russia versus Ukraine. We have a lot of disruptions when it comes to the supply side of fertilizer in the world. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, a little geopolitical tension across the world, across the fertilizer producing countries, like China, like Russia, the US, we will definitely have a problem as a country. And looking across Africa, Honorable Speaker, it is a pity that around our region we have very few countries. In fact, we don't have any country that is known to be producing or manufacturing fertilizer. In Africa, we only have countries in the north, that's Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, producing, manufacturing fertilizer. And then we have, of course, South Africa down south, manufacturing fertilizer. That means within our region, we have a huge market, which this country can tap. And the earlier we come up with the fertilizer factory, the better for this country, because we have a huge market. The East African region itself, we pride ourselves, today we are in excess of 250 million people that require to be fed. And therefore, the faster this country becomes a fertilizer producing country or manufacturing country, the better for this region and the better fortunes for this country, so that we can sustain we can supply fertilizer to all our neighbors, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, before I sit, I want to say that the world today, many countries are moving towards, food security is a big thing. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, as a country, we have no choice. But I'm looking forward to, and I'm happy that this motion has been brought to this House by the chair, the new chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee, that is Honorable Atandi. I'm looking forward to seeing that we put a seed capital in making that we realize the motion we are discussing today. Because if we can talk around here, and if we don't put resources to make this happen, Honorable Speaker, we will still be talking and nothing comes out of our discussion here, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I want to ask Chairman Budget, even as we move towards bringing the budget estimates for 2025-2026, the Ministry of Agriculture must create a seed capital that then we will go into research, we'll go into promoting the idea that we're discussing today, whereby we can make Kenya a fertilizer producing country, a fertilizer manufacturing country, so that we can, one, make sure that we have food security, we can improve the yields of our farmers in terms of getting cheap fertilizer. At the same time, we can We can create employment for many and millions of young people who are out there seeking for jobs and they're not able to to get employment, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Christine Ombaka, member for Siaya County.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to support my colleague and friend, and Samatandi, who also comes from Siaya, where I'm the woman rep. He's one of the MPs from there. I want to support this bill because it is a bill that is dealing with food on the table. It's about food security. It's about removing or ensuring that there is no hunger in this country. This country has been known to suffer from hunger, no food. People have died because there is hunger in this country. And when you look at those scenes, you think that the best option now is this bill. This bill is one that will improve the situation that we've seen in the past where people die of hunger. Farmers need manure. They need fertilizers. Even as I speak now, I'm receiving messages because people are planting. They want seeds, they want fertilizers, they want me to support them. As an individual, how can I do it? A whole county of Siaya. People want me to support them, give them fertilizers. We have fertilizers, yes, but they are subsidized. But even that, the one that is subsidized is still very expensive for our people. They cannot afford it. That's why they want me to step in and support them. It also means that when we produce fertilizers locally, they may be cheaper, they may be possible, it may be possible for many people to access fertilizers. That's why it is important that we have an institution that can produce fertilizers that will be cheaper, easy to access for farmers to use so that they can produce crops and food for food security. It's that common sense. So I think that it is very, very key that we support this bill. It is very key that we stop importing fertilizers. We have seen what importation has done in the past. They import very fake fertilizers. The ones that cannot help us, the ones that are very dangerous, they are very poisonous, they are not good for food production. And so, if we go local, we may succeed. It will bring the cost down, it will make more people access fertilizers, more farmers will benefit, and they will produce more food, and there will be food security. It is that common sense. So we have universities. Our universities have departments of agriculture. We have colleges as well that train people in agriculture. We have Ministry of Agriculture. What are these institutions doing all these years? By now, we should be self-independent. We should be able to have produced our own manures, our own fertilizers, be able to distribute them across the country, and be able to sustain our lives and be able to have access food and put food on our table. So the challenge here is these very institutions that train people in agriculture. Universities, what are they doing? We need an answer from them. What are they doing in terms of producing fertilizers that is cheap, that can be accessed by many people? What is the Ministry of Agriculture doing? What are these colleges doing? Where are farmers who need these things? We need more farmers, both large-scale farmers and small-scale farmers. Local women who are in the villages, they're also farming, even if they have little gardens and things, but they need fertilizers. I have seen on television some young people trying to come up with fertilizers that they can use to plant some products here and there. But those are small scale. They try. That there's an effort. So we can say that there is initiatives that are very encouraging when we see people coming up with what they can do to improve food production. But if the government comes wholesale on this matter, if it's supported by the local people and is supported by those who know how to farm, this country will be very far. And so I will encourage and will support this bill because it is going to eradicate hunger and poverty, and many people will not die, without food, will not go without food. So the challenge here is how do we sustain and look for funds that we can start big plants that can produce fertilizers for our people. That is the first step. Be on our own. We cannot continue to import things that are dangerous, to import fertilizers that we do not know how they are manufactured, how safe they are, and so on and so forth. So the message here, or the issue here, is let's go local, let's make it cheaper, let more people access it, and therefore let there be more food on the table and eradicate hunger and poverty in this country. Thank you, Mr. Tandy. This is something that we must go far with because it's in high demand. We need local fertilizers, not imported ones. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. The Honorable Wilfer sorry about my Kikamba accent. The Honorable Wilberforce Ondo, member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Sometimes it can be a tongue twister, but you have done your best. Honorable Speaker, allow me to also stand on this floor at this moment to support the motion by Honorable Samuel Atandi regarding supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing industries. Honorable Speaker, for many years, agriculture has been the mainstay of the people of Kenya. For many years, agriculture has been like the black gold for people of Kenya. However, Honorable Speaker, over the years, productivity has reduced considerably for various reasons. One of the reasons has been depletion of natural resources and nutrients in the soil because of overcropping, overplanting. It has also been a result of bad agricultural practices that have literally decimated the good part of the soil. Honorable Speaker, we remember very many years back, during the days of President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, when he would lead the weekly activities or monthly activities to fix gabions, plant trees in order to manage soil erosion. So there's been a plethora of reasons that has led to soil failure and reduced productivity. It's therefore inevitable, Honorable Speaker, that in many parts in this country, commercial fertilizers, our chemical fertilizers, are becoming almost like a necessity, a requirement for you to produce any food of any value. Honorable Speaker, I come from Busia. We have not been keen consumers or major consumers of fertilizers because our soils have remained fertile and generally have been producing crops adequate to feed ourselves and retain something small for commercial purposes. But Honorable Speaker, for the last few years, that is no longer the case. Crop failure has become preeminent, and therefore it is important that we find ways and means of boosting application of interventions to improve productivity. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, again on the other side, Honorable Speaker, Kenya consumes about 700,000 metric tons of fertilizer each particular year. It is projected for us to sustain food production, to sustain our economy and population, we might have to consume about 1 billion metric tons of fertilizer the next 2 to 3 years. Our manufacturing capacity, Honorable Speaker, as it stands now, is literally minimal. It is presumed that almost 90% of the fertilizers used in this country is imported. It's imported at a heavy cost in terms of foreign exchange, in terms of exported jobs, and in terms of other issues, Honorable Speaker. And that's why any attempt, Honorable Speaker, to urge the government, to urge the executive, both at the national level and the county level, to invest in production of locally produced fertilizer is laudable and should be supported wholeheartedly with all the state organs concerned with this matter. Honorable Speaker, when you speak to manufacturers, under Vision 2030, Honorable Speaker, manufacturing was supposed to account for 15% by the year 2030. As we stand here, Honorable Speaker, is hardly 7%. That means we are lagging behind with less than 5 years to go. One of the reasons that manufacturing has failed to meet its targets is simply because the cost of production in this country is far much higher compared with even importing, even adding the punitive excise duty and other import taxes. The shelf price of many products, including fertilizers, is much cheaper when it's imported than locally produced. I therefore urge the government to look at the factors of production and look at the cost of those factors of production and work strategically to ensure that we reduce those costs of production. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, what Honorable Tande has asked us to do or to approve or to resolve will merely go to and fill many volumes of unimplementable parliament decisions or policy decisions that cannot be implemented. We now urge, therefore, the Committee of Planning and Finance and National Planning, as well as Budget and Appropriation Committee, the National Assembly, working together with National Treasury, working together with the KIPRA and other economic think tanks to have a serious look, how can we reduce the cost of production? Honorable Speaker, our electricity costs are the highest ever in this part of the world. We cannot compete with Egypt, we can't compete with Ethiopia. Honorable Speaker, our unpredictable tax regime makes it completely difficult and impossible for any manufacturer to have a long-term view or a long-term plan on the matter, how to deal about it. Honorable Speaker, and then of our uncanny habit of cutting corners. Many products in this country, Honorable Speaker, do not meet even local standards in terms of health, in terms of standards set by Kenya Bureau of Standards, to an extent that, Honorable Speaker, whatever we produce, it might not assist us much. It's therefore important, Honorable Speaker, that all the manufacturers that choose to produce fertilizer must adhere to standards set down under the WTO, so that not only producing for the local market, but we must produce competitive products that can compete with other products all over the country. Honorable Speaker, it is also important to appreciate that these manufactured fertilizers contain chemicals which could turn out to be harmful in the long run, which also deplete the natural ingredients in the soil. Is it possible, therefore, Honorable Speaker, as we vote for production of fertilizers, can we look at natural ways of improving soil fertility? And I'm sure our universities that are agriculture-based can lead the research in this matter. We just hope and pray there is sufficient funding in research and development to enable us proceed. Honorable Speaker, this is not the first time to attempt to set up a fertilizer factory. In the year 2015, around 3rd September, the then Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who happens to be the president now, went to Eldoret with columns and pumps and launched a local plant to manufacture fertilizers. As is typical of many of the stories that we hear in this country, it was just hot stories. We therefore urge that whoever is interested in this matter, let's now not treat Kenyans to charade or to lies, but to make sure that whatever we purport to do is actually happens, Honorable Speaker. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, we have the subsidized fertilizer. First of all, the mere fact that subsidies is probably, again, a tax issue it's a tax incentive in this country. It's a tax expenditure in this country. We can never continue with subsidies. Many countries in the world have done away with subsidies. We must find ways and means of producing at market price that support the economy or not. And second, final, Honorable Speaker, I also want to get the country to get out of the fixation that for food production, we are only looking at food security. We must produce for money, we must produce for export, we must produce for value addition. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you very much, Professor. Honorable members, help me to welcome students seated in the public gallery this morning. Students from Kate Academy in Ruiru constituency, Kiambu County. And we also have students seated in the speakers gallery this afternoon. Students from Gai Secondary School from Mwengi North in Kitui County. You are welcome to the National Assembly to continue observing proceedings of the House. And on behalf of these students, I would like to request the member for Kaiti, the Honorable Kimilu, please welcome the students, all students seated both in the public gallery and in the speakers gallery as you contribute to the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Madam Speaker, I want to welcome the students who are in the House and pupils, and I want to encourage them to learn from this Parliament, because tomorrow we expect them to be members of Parliament, others to be big people in this country, because it is possible. One day, one time, we used to come to this Parliament to follow the proceedings of the Parliament, and today we are members of Parliament. So I want to encourage them and welcome them to the Parliament. And after this, I want to encourage them to go around the Parliament to know what is going around in this Parliament. Madam Speaker, I want also to take the opportunity to support this motion by Honorable Atandi and say, Madam Speaker, it came at the right time, Madam Speaker, because fertilizer is key in our country. Madam Speaker, when we have our own plant in the country, we can say that we have food security in the country, Madam Speaker. Because in some of the areas, Madam Speaker, we have good soils. Like where I come from, Madam Speaker, I come from Makueni County. And in my constituency, Kaiti constituency, we have one of the best soil, Madam Speaker. But because of the rain pattern we get short rains. Madam Speaker, for the farmers in Makueni to get good yield, they need fertilizer. As we are speaking now, Madam Speaker, yesterday I had a very busy day getting calls from my constituents, going to Makueni and get that there is no fertilizer. They were calling me as if they think that I can have a solution for them, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, it's key. Fertilizer is key in our country. And if we embrace and support this motion, Madam Speaker, and have our own plant in this country, Madam Speaker, I think this is something which can help this country, because it can also create employment, Madam Speaker. Right now, as you are talking, people are crying. Kenyans are crying. They are loitering in the streets looking for jobs. Having our own plants, Madam Speaker. I went to China 2 years ago, Madam Speaker, and I visited a fertilizer plant, and I was shocked to get a plant which has more than 3,000 workers, Madam Speaker. In this country, if we have our own plants to produce fertilizer, Madam Speaker, we can employ many youths who are loitering, who are looking for jobs, Madam Speaker, and that can help the living standards of Kenyan, Madam Speaker. As I was sharing with my colleague, Honorable Caleb Amisi, he was talking like, he was like crying here, Mr. Speaker, because he was talking of the constituents are calling him. Even when you look at him, he looked like someone who is very tired. He did not sleep because of lack of fertilizer in his constituency. And you know he comes from the areas whereby they depend on agriculture, Madam
Member
Speaker.
for Kaiti, has the Honorable Caleb Hamisi allowed you to describe him?
But Madam Speaker, I think I was trying to describe, because we were discussing about fertilizer here a few minutes ago. And Madam Speaker, I pity him because of the challenge we are facing in our country, shortage of fertilizer. I was trying to put my point clear to see the challenge we are having, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, if we can have our own plant here in this country, Madam Speaker, the challenge we are facing as a country can be sorted once and for all. Madam Speaker, even if we have our own plant here, Madam Speaker, the prices of fertilizer will go down, and it will be affordable to Kenyans, Madam Speaker. This can also improve the living standards of our people, Madam Speaker. People are crying due to lack of school fees. Madam Speaker, the kind of economy we have in our country currently, Madam Speaker, needs people to do some businesses, others to do serious farming, so that they can get money to pay school fees, Madam Speaker. And this can be improved by having our own plant in our country, whereby this can create more jobs and can also create income to our people, Madam Speaker. With this kind of local plant in our country, Madam Speaker, with the kind of rain pattern we get in our country, Madam Speaker, I think because some parts of the country get short rains, and with the short rain, they can plant the crops which need short rains, and with the fertilizers, Madam Speaker, they can get a good yield, which will help them improve their living standards, Madam Speaker. The only, Madam Speaker, way of employment in most of parts of the country is only farming, Madam Speaker. Because if you get the percentage of the farmers we have in the country, you get most of the people, they are farmers. Most of the people, when they retire from their offices, they go back to their villages and do farming. Madam Speaker, we need to encourage this, because when people are farming, when people go back to their villages and do farming, we are also trying to decongest the city, Madam Speaker, because this will also help in rural to urban migration. Because, Madam Speaker, the way things are in this country, we need to start congesting this city. We need to have people migrating from the city to the villages, Madam Speaker. Because now people are coming here to look for jobs. There are no jobs. But if they go back to their villages, Madam Speaker, they can go and do farming and earn something. And that can encourage people to go back to their villages, Madam Speaker. And this is one way of avoiding rural to urban migration, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have good institutions in our country, Madam Speaker, even including our universities, Mr. Speaker. The research, they can do a good research. They can also help in improving, getting the right quality of machines we need in the country. They can also give a good quality chemicals we need to make a good fertilizer in our country. And Madam Speaker, I think this can also help in this country to do good farming, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion, and I say I want to urge all the members of the Parliament in this House to support this mission, because this is very important to our country, and it also help our youth. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Caleb Luyai, member for Saboti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to this very important motion. I didn't want to interrupt my very good friend, Honorable Kimilu, when he mentioned me, but I can assure him that he has no power to carry my... I saw him trying to pity my situation in Trans Nzoia. He has no power. Only God has power to carry all my burden. Madam Speaker, the very first sentence of this motion, the motion mover is aware that the Fertilizer and the Animal Foodstuff Act 2015 provides for the regulation of fertilizer importation in the country, and the further aware notes that the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuffs Board regulates the fertilizer and animal foodstuffs industry, including the manufacture and production of fertilizer. So we are aware of the existence of legislations, acts, policies. There are a number of Sagas, semi-autonomous government agencies, that have been established in the Ministry of Agriculture. I think Ministry of Agriculture has one of the largest number of Sagas among the ministries that we have as a country. We talk of KEFIS, we talk of CARO, that was famous formerly, CARI. We talk of the Agricultural Food Authority that has several departments for each crops. They have pyrethrum, they have maize, they have sorghum, cashew nuts for the coastarians. They have sugar, tea, coffee, name them. all under one umbrella, AFA. And I can go on and go on. Very many departments that have been established, some from the crop side, others from the animal side. We are blessed with fauna and flora as a country. So we're supposed to be sufficient. When we look at how agriculture was established as a backbone of this nation, we look at the history of the colonialists. When the British colonizers arrived here, they did not single out Kenya as a mineral destination. Kenya was not a gold-rich nation. It was not an oil-rich nation. The British established a colony here because they discovered Kenya as an agriculture-rich nation. And we have since moved out of there. We are no longer, the agriculture is no longer the backbone of this republic. We are moving to other things, other economic frontiers. But you cannot stand strong as a nation if you are not food sufficient. The superpowers are strong. Russia has held Europe by its neck or bells because of being food sufficient. Ukraine has become at the center of the global war because of being a food sufficient nation. You cannot become a superpower. Kenya has prided itself for being an East African hegemony, but we can no longer flourish in the past glory of being an East African hegemony. Why? Because we neglected our very backbone that made our economy strong. Agriculture and fertilizer. Fertilizer is at the very center of the bone marrow of our economy, which is agriculture. When we look at how developed nations, what we call the developmental nations of the ASEAN countries, and ASEAN, I refer to the Association of the Southeast Asian Nations, led by Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, South Korea, Taiwan. These nations were at par, or some were actually trailing Kenya in terms of GDP. They all faced the same colonial masters. At the same point, we were all colonized as the ASEAN countries. What made them have a step ahead? It's not that they suddenly discovered mineral or something else. They emphasized on the agriculture, which was their strength, just like agriculture is the strength of most African nations. They improved their production, value addition. They maximized profit out of agriculture. Apart from making what we call broad coalitions to cater for their internal politics, just like we've been having broad-based government, so that to have a conducive political environment to flourish as a nation, they emphasize on local food production that were able to be sold internationally, textile industry, and they emphasize on the institutions, bureaucratic institutions that made sure that there's no corruption, there are no cabal system that will get established, which has always been a problem as a country. We need not to overemphasize on legislation, on things to do with fertilizer. We do have enough legislation. It is good this motion brings a discourse for the nation to discuss where have we gone wrong. But it is far away from trying to lead us into having more acts, legislation, more bills, more policies. We do have enough. We must cultivate a culture of nation that wants to flourish and develop and become an international giant. That culture is missing. That culture is missing in our leadership. That culture is missing in our top leadership, and it trickles down to the line ministries up to the local level. We must establish a culture of proper leadership, good leadership that determines where the nation is, where the nation was, and where the nation needs to go. Before you start thinking about legislation, which we have in plenty, we need to establish a country that has a right-thinking leadership right from the top. If we have it rose at the top, then you don't expect miracles at the bottom. This is not bottom-up, this is top-down. You have to come from top to bottom. I can see my friend looking at me almost coming to give a rejoinder. But that is how we will make our country better. You must start from top to bottom. In terms of corruption, the rest of the things you can do from bottom to up. But in terms of corruption and making sure that the proper leadership in this country that directs the nation to the right way, you must start from the top. And I dare say that we have messed this country right from the top. That's where we need to start. When you say fertilizer industry as cartels, where are these cartels flourishing without the topmost leadership intervention? We must ask the questions. Those bitter questions we must ask ourselves. And that's why our nations, African nations, are lagging behind, because we never discovered that what ails us. The Asian countries discovered. That's why they say they are developmental states. They are in the category of developmental states. Some, you can call it mercantilism, where the trade surplus makes it the country flourish. You can call it Marxism, you can call it capitalism, but all in all, you must discover the strengths of a nation and develop it from there. And to me, agriculture remains to be the strength of this nation, and we must cultivate. So if the area of fertilizer is not an area that you need to overemphasize in terms of legislation, this is an area that needs good culture of leadership. We cannot have sagas all over. We cannot have sagas consuming our natural resources, our treasury, our treasury, and they are just there. Sagas that exist for production, for research, and they are there. That's where we need to start. We do not need to establish another saga when there is already another saga whose primary responsibility is for production of vaccine. We have Kevevapi, we have the Kenya Veterinary, we have the Calro, we have the Kefis. We can name and name them. They are there. But what are they doing? We need to establish and look at what authority formed these sagas. Why do they exist? What have they done so far? If they don't do them, then can we now merge them or restructure them so that we don't waste so much of our resources towards moribund organization? Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
Is it a point of order? Okay. Honorable members, I would like to welcome students from Moi Educational Center, Lang'ata constituency, Nairobi County. Honorable members, help me to welcome them. You are welcome to the National Assembly to observe proceedings of the House. And I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Buyer to welcome students in the absence of the Honorable Member for Suba, leader in the House who had expressed interest to welcome these students. So the Honorable Buyer, you proceed, and then you may also proceed to debate.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to welcome the students to this honorable chamber, this august chamber that has leaders elected from all over the country for them to observe the proceedings of this House. I want to urge them and ask them to work very hard in school and to aspire to be leaders and to aspire to one day step in this chamber as leaders, not as students. And I want to wish them all the best in their studies and let them enjoy their time in school, do their best, and come out as great leaders, just like they are in this House. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to make my contribution to supporting and promoting local fertilizer manufacturing industry. But before I do that, I want to tell the Honorable Caleb Amisi, the member from one of the Trans Nzoia constituencies. Caleb Amisi, you know, he's still held up in the 19th century politics of Marxism, of mercantilism, and that almost 18th, 19th century stuff. I see a lot of his writings on Twitter and all that, but I see his mind is actually fixated there. And I want to tell him that did not help the world Russia collapsed. Yugoslavia collapsed because of these same principles that he's trying to say Kenya must adopt to move forward in development. We are in a new era of thinking and ideologies in this world. Capitalism has still remained as the principal anchor of development in the world. Capitalism still is the anchor for money making in the world and to equalize nations. Socialism and Marxism and all those kind of things that were there, and fascism that were there during the 18th, 19th century have been bypassed and nations have collapsed. This country, Caleb Amisi, will move on a trajectory of developmental issues that are anchored properly in agriculture. The agrarian revolution still persists. We must invest in agriculture.
The Honorable Caleb Hamisi, you have a point of order? Normally the best would be to put an intervention instead of raising your hand, but I give you the chance.
Yeah, I was struggling to put it, but I think it's now working. Madam Speaker, I think with due respect to my colleague and the leader of this House, is that he has diverted from the motion. The motion was not discussing Caleb Amisi's ideology. The motion was discussing fertilizer. I will bring here another motion that will discuss Caleb Amisi's ideology, and the honorable member will have enough time to contribute. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Order now. You believe that he is irrelevant?
He is irrelevant and is continuously mentioning my name and attaching some ideologies that I don't follow towards my name. And it's not even, he has not brought a substantive motion to discuss my name.
Before you respond, I keenly followed what the Honorable Bayer said. I believe that he was just reacting to what you had said, which is allowed in the House. It's a house of debate. I did not see him being irrelevant, so there is nothing out of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to say this. This country, Kenya, already has factories that manufacture fertilizer, and that is a fact. If you look at what we have in the country, the question that we have is the fertilizer being manufactured in this country enough? It is not enough. So how do we fill in the gap? We can only fill in the gap if we get other investors to come and invest in the country to have more fertilizer plants, to manufacture more fertilizer, so that our farmers can have enough fertilizer for their farms. On the upshot of that, Honorable Speaker, if we have more fertilizer manufactured in the country, we reduce our foreign exchange, the use of our foreign exchange to import fertilizer. Importation has been one of the problems that has caused us the imbalance of trade between this country and other countries. We continue to import even things that we must not import. What I want to see is more investors, and I want to ask the people of Trans Nzoia to demand from their MP that he invites more investors in Trans Nzoia to set up fertilizer manufacturing plants there so that the farmers can get cheaper fertilizer. Honorable Speaker, regions that would have given us very big output.
Majority Whip, you seem to be attracting a lot of points of order. You have another point of order from the member for Funyula.
Save my time. Honorable Speaker, I think my good friend is just going on, is just diverting the attention. Honestly speaking, it's not the business. It cannot be the sole business of Honorable Amisi to go scouting for investors to come and invest in Trans Nzoia in a fertilizer manufacturing plant. It's on record that the current president has globetrotted this world for the last 3 to 4 years, and yet nothing, even a single fertilizer factory has been set up. I think just restrict yourself to the debate.
What exactly is out of order?
I know it's political out of order to incite the members of public against Honorable Hamisi for no apparent reason.
You have made your point. As far as I'm concerned, Honorable Bayer, just try to focus to the subject matter, because now I'm forced to also defend the Honorable Hamisi. And also, in the interest of time, I see
Yeah.
about 6 people would like to speak. Honorable
Yes,
members,
yes.
we did not agree on reducing time, so you still have 10 minutes. But if all of you would like to speak, you may choose to speak for 4 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
So that most of you can be covered.
I'll restrict
Kindly
myself to
finalize.
5 minutes, Honorable Speaker, so that I can save time. But I also want to say this, Honorable Speaker. You see, investors coming into this country to invest, one, they bring in foreign direct investment into the country. Foreign direct investment helps this country to grow its GDP. Again, when investments are made here, productivity goes up. When the productivity of the country goes up, then, of course, we become a more food-secure country. And I want to urge leaders, even as they point out mistakes of this ministry is not doing this is not doing this, also to look at it as they're also leaders. When you say you must start at the top for many things, you are at the top in the county. There's somebody at the top of the county. There's somebody at the top of the constituency. It takes all of us to hold hands together to ensure that we move this country forward. And a leader at the top uses others to influence change. Change cannot be influenced if other leaders are not joining hands to try to influence. We must bring change in the area of manufacture of fertilizer in this country. We must bring change in the areas of agriculture in this country to ensure we are food secure as a country. And this motion by the Honorable Samatande is at its best place that we discuss it at this time when the rains are here. The rains are here, farmers are looking for fertilizer, but the scarcity of fertilizer, not that there is not enough, there is enough, there is fertilizer in the country. Not enough, of course. But we can do better as a country when we ensure that we have more investors coming in to invest in the area of fertilizer. Seeds, for example, Honorable Speaker, my constituency and where I come from, everybody's saying, we want seeds. We want planting material. We want things that can help us grow food. The people in this country are not lazy. They are industrious people who know if they grow food, they'll become food secure, they'll become food sufficient, and poverty will leave their homes. But then, as leaders, are we doing to ensure that we give them planting materials to ensure that we have more food? So I want to support you, my brother Samatandi, for the good thoughts, because this is thinking good for a country. This is good thoughts for a country, that we actually must manufacture more fertilizer in the country, Honorable Speaker. And we have bumper harvest. The prices of goods come down. Inflation comes down. When inflation comes down, there's less expenditure, and therefore, when we have inflation that is down, there's more savings in the families and more disposable income for families, and therefore they are able to pay school fees for their children and do development for themselves. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to urge everybody that is able to ensure that we have this, even members of parliament here. There are other members of parliament like Samatandi who has enough disposable income to set up a small fertilizer factory in his village. The Millie here, I know she can set up another small factory for fertilizer, make some money out of it, but also help the farmers. Professor Undo there, he's a good professor, he's worked for many years, he has enough money to invest into a small fertilizer. And even Gelechei. If everybody goes the cottage industry way and sets up a small fertilizer factory in their constituency, we'll bring down the cost of food production. And even the Honorable Speaker, I know the people of Mutomo, want a small fertilizer factory, and you have some money, set up a small fertilizer factory there so that you can bring down. I can see Millie is smiling because she's thinking about setting one tomorrow because she has money. But if everybody does that, if everybody invests in agriculture, we make this country a better country, making it food sufficient, and agricultural produce actually transit to manufacturing. Because if you have if you have enough milk, you can set up a small milk production center. And when we have industries being set and manufacturing being set, we solve the problem of joblessness and we solve the problem of poverty in this country. And therefore, I want to urge anybody who has money somewhere, instead of going to do other things, set up factories for fertilizer, for better seeds, and better planting materials so that we increase our output in agriculture in this country. And that way we make Kenya a better country. I thank you, and I want to support my brother Samatani on this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I would like to give a chance to the member for Turkana North. I'm very sorry, I didn't know that you're in the house. The Honorable Ekon Naibun.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to put my voice on this motion by Honorable Atandi. Madam Speaker, growing up in the northern Kenya, those early years when we were in school, we were being told this country, agriculture is the backbone of the economy. That narrative has continued to date. Madam Speaker, it's surprising that we are told manufacturing is focus of subsequent governments for a while now. But when you look at what the government is doing to set up manufacturing institutions, whether it is medicine, whether it is fertilizer, much is not being done. Now, looking at the agriculture part that requires fertilizer, I hear the leader saying that there are a number of manufacturing institutions or companies, but at the same time he confirms that the supplies of these fertilizers to farmers still remains low. So that means then that the country has not done much in terms of manufacturing fertilizer. We still import fertilizer. Our farmers are struggling to receive and utilize the fertilizers that we are told they are being imported. At the same time, the agriculture, the areas that would have been put into agriculture in this country are so much. 60% of this country is arid. But, Madam Speaker, you realize these arid areas have been neglected. Nobody has ever even thought of, setting up agricultural areas, spaces. When indeed, if the country was focused on doing or producing food in this country, it would produce sufficient food for all of us and even for import. I want to give an example of the area where I come from and where we've been pushing for the government to set up agricultural space. This area recently had issues of invasion by an external militia. This area is called Toranya. That area would have, for a long time, has been, proposed for agriculture, but that has never happened. And what causes some of the clashes and deaths is Kenyans in that area would move across to the Ethiopian side for search of food because the Ethiopian side has done a lot of food production. So you realize our government has not been keen on agriculture, which is said to be backbone of this economy. And that, of course, agriculture comes with production of fertilizer. So this motion, as brought by Honorable Member Atani, is long overdue, and it is something we need to support as a House and engage government to invite investors. And why, the main reason why investors are not coming to do manufacturing in this country mainly is lack of incentives. The government has not opened up to investors who can be able to come and support them through good incentives that is happening in other countries. So, Madam Speaker, I support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Millie Odhiambo, I'll give you a chance because of order of speaking as per our standing orders, but I would like to ask others to wait.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I do thank you for recognizing ranking. But Madam Speaker, I also just want to know that because I know there are very many members who've been waiting for a long time, including my neighbor, Honorable Caroli Omondi, and I therefore will try and speak in less than the allocated 10 minutes. Madam Speaker, first of all, let me just acknowledge that you have Moi Educational Center in the House. They are visiting to see how Parliament works. And Madam Speaker, all I can say is that I hope that from the cohort that is here today, very many of them will one day be sitting here in Parliament as members of Parliament, and indeed that one of them will one day be a president of the country. It is possible, anything is possible for a willing heart. Madam Speaker, I just want to thank Honorable Atandi, the new chair of Budget Committee, for bringing this motion to the House. And just thank you that you have actually started on a very good note. And yes, you are bringing in very good perspectives to the government and continue with the same trajectory. And I just want to say that what has happened recently with the new government in the United States of America has actually, it's what I would call a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword when the administration decided that they are going to be Americentric, meaning they are going to focus on developing themselves, and therefore very little aid is going to come to countries such as Kenya. And Madam Speaker, it is not only in the US. I know, for instance, the UK is also reducing development aid. And I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of African countries. We are very rich countries. We have many resources, and we can actually, if we utilize them well, we can go far. And one of the first things we have to make sure we do is to be food secure. And that is why it is important for us to have our own locally producing manufacturers of fertilizers. And one of the things that I would then indicate is recently Parliament gave us a training on public-private partnerships. I wish Parliament could do that to every member of Parliament. And I wish Parliament could cascade what PPPs are to the whole public so that the public can get a buy-in. Not everything in PPPs is bad. It's just that because we have not alerted people about it, what it is, and made it open. But through PPPs, we can be able to bring fertilizer plants in almost every constituency and make people food secure. The other thing that I'd want to say is that we must leverage on our youth because we can no longer rely on formal employment. And we must have a lot of our young people who can be able to now even invest in agriculture. And we must adapt that and have rethinking in our youth so that many more can also get into areas like agriculture. And I like practicing what I say. My nephew, who I've supported very strongly, has just graduated with a degree in agriculture and is becoming a farmer. And I think this is the way to go. But as a government, we need to incubate them, help them, support them, give finances to support. But we can only do that if we stop pilferage and corruption. And I know that my good friend and colleague would not want us to talk about it. But even when we are in the broad-based government, what is wrong, and we know what is bedeviling the country. And the moment we own up to what is wrong and we're bedeviling the country is when we can sort out the issues. Are we struggling with corruption? Yes, we are. We must acknowledge and we must deal with them. And we must, at every angle, right from the presidency to the lowest level, we must deal with corruption because then there would be money available even for free primary education, even for fertilizer. With those few remarks, I do support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minority Whip. The Honorable Caroli Omondi, member for Suba North.
Suba South.
Member for Suba South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'll also try and be very brief. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this motion by Honorable Atandi, where he's calling that this House resolves that the national government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, promotes local fertilizer manufacturing by investing in research. I just want to focus on the issue of research and why it is important for this particular motion. Madam Speaker, I believe we are talking about what we call modern synthetic fertilizer, manufacturing of modern synthetic fertilizer. 40% of the cost of fertilizer used in this country is actually cost that has nothing to do with the production of fertilizer. It is basically transportation and port handling charges. In other words, if we produced the synthetic fertilizer locally, we would almost half the cost of fertilizer in this country. And this is because of fertilizer comes in liquid, solid, and gaseous form. So it is very difficult to handle. But let me first tell a story so that we understand, two stories, and we understand where the problem is. In 1975, the Kenya government entered into a fertilizer manufacturing deal with a company, an American company called NREN, and they formed a parastatal called KENREN, Kenya Chemical and Fertilizer Manufacturing Company. That company then entered into a financing arrangement with two banks, a Belgian bank and an Austrian bank. And then they procured two entities, Copé Lavalin of Belgium and another company, Voest Alpine of Austria, to supply manufacturing equipment. The value of that transaction was 350 million Kenya shillings at that time. Interest rate was 8.5%. 3 years later, no equipment had been supplied. And the company, Kenren, went into receivership. But the Kenya government had guaranteed that particular loan. We ended up paying about 5.1 billion without any fertilizer manufacturing plant being installed. In 2015, again another story, in 2015, two Japanese companies were invited by the Kenya government, Toyota Tsusho and Marubeni, very large Japanese corporations. And Toyota Tsusho was contracted to build a 135 billion fertilizer manufacturing plant in Eldoret. Again, it is not working. That is the second bad experience. In fact, in the case of the earlier one of Kenren, when the company went into receivership, the government went to court in London, and the court ruled that Kenya had been a victim of deceit. But the suppliers went to appeal in Cyprus and got a judgment against the Republic of Kenya. So we ended up paying 5.1 billion for a factory that did not exist. If we are to do any research, we should ask ourselves, how come on two occasions, 1975 and 2015, attempts to establish a fertilizer manufacturing company in Kenya have failed? We all know that fertilizer is manufactured from urea oil. Kenya doesn't have commercial quantities of oil. Phosphates, potassium, and potash. I think the only complement that we have is nitrogen. So when we are talking about manufacturing of fertilizer, I think it is important that we understand what we should be focusing on is what is called blending or granulation. In other words, importing pre-manufactured fertilizer and then blending it to create products that meet local conditions. Like the Toyota Tsusho factory was supposed to produce NPK, DAP, and CAN, all blended. But that is not the case. So I think I support this effort by Honorable Atandi, but let us do more research. Why is it that all previous attempts to establish a fertilizer manufacturing plant in Kenya by private sector or in joint partnership with the government, like in the case of Kenren, have come to a naught? I think there's a lot of work we need to do here. You know, Kenya has the advantage of geography. We are extending the SGR all the way to the border with Malaba, with Uganda. We could, again, supply almost the entire east and central seaboard out of fertilizer, either blended in Kenya or granulated in Kenya. Or when we have enough of the raw material, we go into the production of the real manufacture, the real fertilizer. But otherwise, I support this, and I'm happy that the new chairman for the budget committee has brought this up. He used to be my neighbor here, but suddenly has disappeared. He's sitting on the other side. And I've been informed that is where the chair of budget must sit. So I've lost a very good neighbor. But on this, we support. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Jackson Kosgei, nominated member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I support the motion by the Honorable Atandi on this food security as a very important motion for us as the leadership of this country. One, Madam Speaker, food security is one of the basic needs which is necessary for the survival, and it has been said, and for a decent standard of living, which brings together amongst many water, shelter, clothing, as we know, and as access to health care and education. Food, therefore, must be a priority in the planning of any country to secure its own people, to make sure that it's raising a healthy nation that is able to be productive in every way. I support the emphasis on this motion about research, because progress any other time in history has been based on research, because research is able to create a food security component with an ability to make sure that food will be available to the citizen of a country. It can be accessed. It is food that can be utilized, and we have a stability in the production. And therefore, research will also lead us into appreciating the changes in climate change that we, for many years, depended on rain-fed agriculture, that it may be necessary now to change the focus, that we go for irrigated agricultural attention to be able to make sure food is available in the country. Madam Speaker, we therefore would like, and I really am impressed, as my colleagues have just mentioned before, that our new chair on Budget Committee is paying attention on the very important basic and foundation in really meeting one of the basic needs in this country. And therefore, the budgeting must put emphasis on this. And Madam Speaker, also food security means security, actually. Because food can be a weapon against a nation. When a nation is not able to feed its own people or our own people, it can be taken advantage of in other factors externally, determining policies that affects their domestic interest. You have no power to speak and reject anything which would have appeared to be injurious to your people if your people are hungry. And therefore, securing this particular basic need is very important in the security of a country. With that, Madam Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Caroline Ngeleche, member for Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute on the motion by Honorable Atandi on the promotion of local fertilizer manufacturing industries. And first of all, allow me to congratulate Honorable Atandi, since I think I've never had an opportunity to meet him since he became the chair of budget, and I've been looking for him in where he normally sits. And I'm also informed, just like Karoli Omondi, that he has now shifted to the government side and will be sitting where the former chair of budget used to sit. So, Honorable Atandi, congratulations in advance. And I can actually see somehow your expertise in this. So, Madam Speaker, allow me also to support him by saying that as much as Honorable MP for Suba North has given a different dimension, that we need to know what it takes to be a manufacturer of fertilizers. At times, Madam Speaker, we might contribute, or we might also have feel that we need to manufacture fertilizer. But also I want to support Honorable Carolio Mondi in saying, what does it take to have the fertilizer? Because as I sit here, I know that we are not the manufacturers, or we are not the source of the key or the basic ingredients of fertilizer, manufacturing fertilizer, or unless we just blend or we granulate, as Honorable Caroli puts it. Nonetheless, it is a very important thing. If we can if we can give a chance, or we can go out on a limb to give a try, because we have had the agriculture is the backbone of our country in Kenya. Most of what we can do better in Kenya, better than fishing, better than mining, better than all the other activities that can support our country, agriculture is what we have, because we have arable land, we have good climatic conditions. It is a very good thing to have, because we depend highly on agriculture in our country. And Madam Speaker, we have so many graduates, we have so many diploma holders who've trained in the field of agriculture, and they can be a very good basis for research on how we can do better on our fertilizer, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, these youth, most of them, especially the youth who pursued agriculture as a course in the university, find themselves in very unfamiliar territories, because there are so many things in Kenya, in the agricultural sector, that are not being implemented, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you find that we have so many research institutes that are supposed to deal with agriculture, but they are not actually bringing out their full potential, because we are not also concentrating much as a country on what we can do. So, Madam Speaker, I want to support it and say that let us put the knowledge that we have had by doing research, by also trying to venture out. And you know, Madam Speaker, when we have an homegrown research, we can actually get to know what is best. At times, depending on imported fertilizer, Madam Speaker, manufactured in another country, might not give the best out of our soil, because we have different types of soil that needs the different components of fertilizers that we might not be able to maximize the full potential. So, Madam Speaker, for the sake of knowledge that we have, for the sake of research, for the sake of knowledge and education that we have gathered in our institutions, it is also good that we give a try on manufacturing the fertilizer. Madam Speaker, another thing is also, we have had and we have suffered in the country with an issue of fake fertilizers, and many a times we get people who adulterate the fertilizer, Madam Speaker. But when we have our manufacturers here locally, it will be so easy as a country to keep track or to monitor and ensure that we control the quality of the fertilizers that will be produced within. And at times, Madam Speaker, it is so hard for the local people or the local agencies to control what has been manufactured out of the country, because they might not be able every now and then or frequently visit the manufacturing industries and check if at all what is being purported to be the contents of the fertilizer is indeed true or not, Madam Speaker. Another aspect, Madam Speaker, is we incur a lot of money, or most of the price of fertilizer that has been imported to the country has a component of transport and handling along the way from the manufacturing country throughout to Kenya. And we can mitigate the cost of that handling and transportation by manufacturing our own fertilizer, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, it is always good to consider that when we produce the fertilizers within, the farmers will be able to access and get it as they want. Like, for instance, right now, farmers in the North Rift are planting, and they are depending on what the government is supplying, so the subsidized fertilizer. At times, we run out of stock. We wait for 2-3 days. We wait for 1 week, and the rains are not waiting, Madam Speaker. So if we had the local manufacturer within, it will be very easy for us to access and utilize the fertilizer on time and on the rainy season, Madam Speaker. Also, to add on that, Madam Speaker, is also we have the short crops along in between the long rains that we at times we wish to maybe plant beans in between the duration of maize, but you find that the government only supplies when there is need and when there is when it is time for every person to plant. So, Madam Speaker, accessing the fertilizer through the local manufacturer will ensure that we are oversupplied, or we have supply of fertilizer every time we need to have it, Madam Speaker. And I want to support the motion and encourage the Ministry of Agriculture to give a try, because, Madam Speaker, we always cry on food security, and it is a shame that we don't face food shortage in the country because of maybe natural issues like rainfall or rainfall, or maybe the type of soil that we have, but because the farmers don't get the right inputs on time, the fertilizer, the seedlings, and we can manufacture our fertilizer just the way we did the seeds last year. The previous year, Madam Speaker, the farmers had a lot of challenge with the issue of seeds. But this year, we have an oversupply of seeds. But then because the farmers are well prepared, because they knew that the fertilizer is subsidized, we find that our stores that are supposed to supply fertilizer is running out of stock every now and then. So I think it is a good thing to venture in. But Honorable Atandi, it will also be good if you can advise on what are the components, or what do we need to do? Is it are the components or the ingredients for manufacturing fertilizers locally available, or we'll still have to import? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Rueda Obo, member for Lamu East, and thank you for your patience. For 1 minute.
Asante, Bi Speaker. Kunipatia nafasi nami kuzungumza kwenye hoja hii ya kutengeneza mbolea hapa nchini kwetu. Nataka na mimi pia nimpongeze Mheshimiwa Atandi kwa kuleta hoja hii. Hoja hii kusema la kweli itasaidia sana wakulima. Itasaidia kuhakikisha kwamba mbolea itapatikana kwa wingi, itapatikana kwa urahisi, na mazao yatapatikana kwa wingi zikitengenezwa Kenya mbolea, na pia italeta kazi kwa vijana wetu, kwa sababu hizo kampuni zikiwa hapa au viwanda vikiwa hapa zitaajiri watu. Bi Speaker, lakini pia tuseme ukweli, kile kinachofanywa sisi tusiwe mwanzo wa wezi wa fadhila. Kitu kifanywa kizuri, tuseme kimefanywa vizuri, na tuseme pengine kiboreshwe. Lakini tusikatalie kwamba mtu amefanya jambo zuri kwa sababu ya siasa, tukatae. Kusema la kweli, hii serikali, rais wetu na naibu wake wamejaribu. Na kama ni hii ruzuku inawekwa kwenye mbolea, ili mbolea iwe kidogo, ile subsidy, kwa kizungu wa subsidy. Haikuanza na rais huyu. Haikuanza na serikali hii. Ilianza kutoka huko mbele. Hawa nao wamejaribu, wamehakikisha mbolea imepatikana kwa bei nzuri, lakini kuna haja ya kuzidisha bidii ili mbolea ipatikane kwa rahisi zaidi.
Order, Honorable Rueda. Honorable Rueda, I hope you'll keep following this motion next time when it will be scheduled by the House Business Committee, because you have a balance of about 7 minutes. So you'll have the first bite. Honorable members, and the time now being, honorable members, let's be upstanding, please. And the time now being 4 minutes past 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 2nd April 2025 at 2:30 p.m.